Chapter 125. Thousand-Leaf Pond. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart sped up. After entering the clan for a while, he had heard of some of the mysterious places in the clan such as the Floating Crest Palace, Hollow Building, and Thousand-Leaf Pond. The Floating Crest Palace was the foundation of the clan and was the most mysterious. Even the current clan master and elders might not be able to find out all of its secrets. As for the Thousand-Leaf Pond, although it couldn't be compared to the Floating Crest Palace and Hollow Building, it was still a mysterious place in the clan. The Thousand-Leaf Pool itself was a miraculous land of fortune within the sect. This pool formed its own pattern, and it could naturally gather the essence of the world's origin chi. Later on, the sect's masters joined hands to set up the Origin Gathering Array, which lasted for 1,000 years. This caused the water in the pool to possess a certain spirituality, and it had a strange effect on the body of a cultivator. If Zhao Feng was able to enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond, it would be very useful for his silver wall technique to break through to the ascended realm. Senior Zhang, I heard that only inner disciples have the chance to enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond, Zhao Feng said suspiciously. The Thousand-Leaf Pond is an important place of the clan and it's not a place that any inner disciple can use. Being the vice head of the clan mission division, I'm in charge of this pond. If you can perform well in arrays, such as comprehending those books within 7 days, you'll be considered a peerless genius. At that time, I'll make an exception and let you enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond. Old man Zhang explained with a smile. Zhao Feng instantly understood. According to the rules, an outer disciple like him couldn't enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond. But even in the clan, there were a small number of people who had special privileges. For example, Old Man Zhang was the vice head of the clan mission division and he was in charge of the Thousand-Leaf Pond. He could open the back door for Zhao Feng. Of course, Zhao Feng had to show that he was talented in arrays and only then would he have the right to let Old Man Zhang use his special privileges. After saying goodbye to Old Man Zhang, 7 books about arrays appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. These books went from simple to complex. The first book, Introduction to Array Formations, was the simplest. As the name suggested, it was basic knowledge. Introduction to Array Formations basically didn't require much comprehension. As long as one could memorize it, one would be able to learn 70 to 80% of it. By the time Zhao Feng returned to his residence, he had already fully comprehended the first book, Introduction to Array Formations. Next up was the second book, A Beginner's Understanding of the 49 Basic Formations. Understanding some common basic formations would pose a certain level of difficulty for novices. If it was an ordinary person, it would be very difficult to master these 7 books without 2 to 3 years of practice. Even some geniuses would need a few months. From the second book, Zhao Feng felt a certain degree of difficulty, and doubts arose in his heart. To a certain extent, it could be said that Elder Zhang was deliberately making things difficult for him by giving him 7 array formation books. Even for ordinary geniuses, this was an impossible task. Zhao Feng couldn't figure it out, but he didn't think too much about it and focused on deciphering these books. The second book, Basics of 49 Formations, was not a problem for Zhao Feng. He estimated that he would be able to master it tonight. Halfway through his comprehension, Zhao Feng realized something. The illusion fish picture that he had previously comprehended seemed to be connected to these arrays, as if they were of the same origin. This meant that if he comprehended the illusion fish picture and these array books at the same time, he would be able to speed up his comprehension. Excitement flickered in Zhao Feng's eyes, and he wanted to completely digest the contents of the 7 books in one go. However, on the same day, a piece of news interrupted him. Substitute Inner Disciple, Zhao Feng, in 3 days, the 16th Substitute Inner Disciple, Xiao Sun, will challenge you. The Outer Hall Division sent someone over to deliver the news. Challenger, Xiao Sun Substitute Inner Disciple, ranked 16th challenged, Zhao Feng Substitute Inner Disciple, ranked 13th, this Xiao Sun is really going to challenge me? Zhao Feng threw the letter to the side, not putting it in his eyes. But not long after, Princess Yunmengxiang came to visit. You need to be careful of Xiao Sun. The blazing sun blade technique that he cultivated was a simplified version of the middle-class mortal skill of the Broken Moon clan, the Blazing Sun Manual. After entering the sect, he had spent a lot of primal crystal stones and obtained the complete Blazing Sun art through his connections in the sect. After obtaining it, his cultivation increased dramatically, and adding on the fact that he's at the half-step ascended realm, his strength is comparable to the top 10. Yunmengxiang said with a solemn expression. Middle-class mortal skill. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Mortal skills were equivalent to holy martial arts in the mortal world. They were split into low class, middle class, high class and peak class. There was a huge difference between the 4 levels of mortal level cultivation techniques. The difference between each level was like the difference between the clouds and the mud. Peak class mortal skills were what made the Broken Moon clan famous. They were extremely high level and their power couldn't be estimated. If one were to ask how strong a middle-class mortal skill was, then one had to mention Bei Mua's ripple skill. Back in the Guanjuan Palace, during the sparring session. With Bei Mua's peak 8th rank cultivation, he sent Yang Qingshan, Nan Gongfan, Zhao Feng and the other 7th and 8th ranks flying with one move. How arrogant was that? One had to know that at that time, Yang Qingshan, Nan Gongfan and Zhao Feng all had mortal skills, and although there was a difference in cultivation, the difference wasn't too big. After entering the clan, Zhao Feng started to understand that Bei Mua's ripple skill was a middle-class mortal skill. And this time, the opponent Zhao Feng was facing was also a middle-class mortal skill, and his cultivation had reached the half-step ascended realm. How hard is a middle-class mortal skill compared to those below the ascended realm? Xiao Sun has just obtained the Blazing Sun Manual, so he won't be able to use it well. Zhao Feng said, his body brimming with confidence. Unless Xiao Sun was as strong as Bei Mua, who was not only talented, but also had high comprehension. Seeing Zhao Feng's reaction, Yunmengxiang was only slightly surprised. After all, Zhao Feng's performance these past few days had toppled everything she knew. There's one more thing. Yunmengxiang said hesitantly. Speak. Zhao Feng said directly. It's like this. Your 2 senior brothers haven't been doing well recently. Do you know? Yunmengxiang said carefully. My 2 senior brothers? How are they? Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Not long later, Zhao Feng and Yunmengxiang arrived at the place where the outer disciples lived. This place was for normal outer disciples, and Zhao Feng had stayed here before. Zhao Feng arrived in front of Yang Qingshan's room and knocked on the door, only to see a skinny face. When Yang Qingshan saw Zhao Feng, he was first stunned, then ashamed. He wanted to speak, but coughed out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale white. Senior brother Yang. Zhao Feng immediately helped Yang Qingshan up and gave him a blood-healing pill from the grasswood division. After Yang Qingshan ate the pill, he started to feel better. Following this, Nan Gongfan, who was in the next room, also came in. Nan Gongfan's face was swollen, all of his injuries were external, but Yang Qingshan's internal injuries weren't light. After asking around, Zhao Feng found out that in the past 5 to 6 days, his 2 senior brothers had been bullied by a few substitute inner disciples led by Ho Yuan. These guys always find trouble with us and purposely cause trouble when we're working, Nan Gongfan said with a sad face. It didn't take long for Zhao Feng to figure out what was going on. That day, he had defeated Ji Fengyun on the challenge stage, establishing his prestige in the outer disciples, allowing them to live in peace for a few days. But it didn't last long. 4 to 5 days ago, Ho Yuan, who was ranked 4th, and Hong brothers, who were ranked 8th and 9th, tried all sorts of ways to cause trouble. In just a few days, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were tormented to the point that they couldn't cultivate or work. Ho Yuan only showed up occasionally, but the Hong brothers were the ones who did it. The Hong brothers were a pair of twins. The older brother was called Hong San and the younger brother was Hong Si. This pair of twin brothers possessed similar talents and strength, and they were ranked 8th and 9th among the inner discipled substitutes. Why didn't you guys tell me earlier? Zhao Feng suppressed his anger. Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan had bitter expressions. We were afraid of disturbing junior brother, so we wanted to endure it for a while. Nan Gongfan lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhao Feng. Looks like I need to think of a way to solve this once and for all. Zhao Feng's eyes turned cold as he slowly stood up. Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan's expressions changed. Junior brother Zhao, don't do anything rash. That Ho Yuan succeeded a few days ago and became the 3rd substitute inner disciple. 3rd substitute. This was the overlord of the outer disciples, and he was only half a line away from becoming an inner disciple. Yun Mengxiang's face was also filled with anxiety as she tried to stop Zhao Feng, worried that he would do something rash. Don't worry, this was my goal to become an inner disciple. Zhao Feng's voice was calm and firm. Yun Mengxiang realized that his eyes were calm and didn't look like he would do anything rash. Furthermore, Yun Mengxiang had never seen Zhao Feng do anything rash, as if everything was under his control. Tang! Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the air as he charged towards a certain direction. Junior brother Zhao. Where are you going? The 3 behind him chased after him. To the outer hall division. Zhao Feng's voice was filled with killing intent. After leaping for a while, Zhao Feng arrived at the outer hall division. The outer hall was in charge of the outer hall of the sect, controlling the dispatch and distribution of outer hall disciples. It's getting late, what are you doing here? An old man at the ascended realm furrowed his eyebrows. I'm here to challenge the substitute inner disciples. Zhao Feng said. Tell me your name. The ascended realm elder's eyes turned and landed on Zhao Feng. He knew who he was. I'm here to challenge the 9th. Hong Si. I'm here to challenge the 8th. Hong San. I'm here to challenge the 3rd. Ho Yuan. A cold and decisive voice came from the entrance of the main hall. What? The old man at the ascended realm widened his eyes and scolded, what kind of rule is this? Challenging so many people at once? At the same time. Yun Mengxiang, Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan's faces were also filled with shock. This was crazy, junior brother Zhao. Amidst their exclamations, they realized that Zhao Feng was standing there coldly without any emotions on his face. Challenging the 9th, 8th and 3rd ranked disciples at the same time was enough to shock the outer disciples. No. This is against the rules. The old man at the ascended realm shook his head. Zhao Feng stood there without moving, as if he was unwilling to give up. He wanted to challenge all 3 of them at the same time so that he wouldn't have to worry about them. Just when Zhao Feng was about to give up. Accept his request. An indifferent voice came from the depths of the great hall. It had a domineering tone of someone looking down on them. Chapter 126. Accept his request. The cold and empty voice seemed to come from the clouds, condensing in the void, emitting a vast spiritual power. Countless beings within a few hundred yards trembled and fell into silence. Zhao Feng felt that this voice was familiar. As soon as he raised his head, he saw a middle-aged man in black floating in the air. It was the black-robed vice head from last time. Vice head. The heart of the elder at the ascended realm shook as he nodded his head. Greetings, vice head. I will immediately accept Zhao Feng's challenge. Shua. The black-robed middle-aged man glanced at Zhao Feng before leaving behind a blur in the air. Zhao Feng understood that the vice heads of the clan were all extremely close to the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng. 3 days later, you will challenge the 3rd, 8th and 9th substitute inner disciples. Apart from that, you will also face the 16th ranked Shao Sunday. The expression of the elder at the ascended realm became weird as he said this. This meant that on that day, Zhao Feng would have to face 4 battles, one of which was ranked lower than him and 3 of which were ranked higher than him. This was especially so for the 3rd-ranked Hou Yuan, who was a tyrant of the outer disciples. This junior understands. Zhao Feng turned around and left the outer hall division, leaving behind the shocked Yang Qingshan company behind. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan's expressions changed and they didn't know what to say. It was obvious that they were stunned by Zhao Feng's crazy actions. Yun Mengxiang's face was full of shock and it took her a while to recover. Tang! Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the air and returned to where he was staying. Yun Mengxiang and Yang Qingshan were left on the spot, staring at each other with shock in their eyes as their breathing hastened. Just as Yang Qingshan was about to chase after him, he was stopped by Nan Gongfan. In these 3 days, Brother Zhao will definitely go into seclusion to increase his strength. Let's not disturb him. At this point, no one could stop Zhao Feng. On the same night, news of Zhao Feng's challenge spread across the outer disciples. He challenged 3 reserve inner court disciples at the same time, and all of them were ranked in the top 10 of the outer court, and the strongest among them was ranked 3rd. This news caused the outer disciples of the Broken Moon clan to shake. Almost all the outer disciples had heard of this news. Many outer disciples ran over to ask Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan. Yang Qingshan and Mu Xian groaned in their hearts, they were worried and uneasy. After all, Zhao Feng issued the challenge because of them. 3 days. Many outer disciples were secretly looking forward to it. In a solitary courtyard in the outer sect. In the challenge in 3 days. I, Shao Sun, will make you suffer a crushing defeat. You won't have any chance of progressing. Shao Sun clenched his fists, his eyes filled with battle intent. A layer of red light appeared on his body, causing the surrounding temperature to rise. He glanced coldly at the location of the 13th courtyard. That was where Zhao Feng lived. Shao Sun was the 16th substitute inner disciple, 2 courtyards away from the 13th. It was a dark and windy night. 4 figures stood in a pavilion on a distant mountain. One of them was a handsome youth wearing a black robe, obviously an inner disciple. Brother Quan Chen. Hou Yuan and the other 2 said respectfully. Quan Chen stood with his hands behind his back as a cold smile appeared on his face. I've underestimated Zhao Feng's guts. He dares to go against me again and again. Brother Quan, don't worry. He won't be able to pass me. Hou Yuan said slowly. This brat has to face 4 battles. The first one is to beat Shao Sun, which will take a lot of his energy. If he meets the 2 of us again, even if he doesn't die, he'll lose a layer of skin. The Hong brothers smiled contentedly. Quan Chen faintly nodded his head as he scanned Hou Yuan and the Hong brothers. Zhao Feng's challenge this time was like throwing an egg against a rock. Challenging 3 substitute inner disciples at the same time meant that he would have to face a continuous battle. But there was something suspicious. Why would Zhao Feng challenge 3 people at the same time? On the same day, he would also have to face Shao Sunday. 4 challenges, all gathered in one day. Could it be that Zhao Feng was an idiot? What was his motive for doing this? This doubt flashed across the minds of the few of them. Since they had already given Zhao Feng a death sentence, then the process in between wasn't important anymore. Time flew by and the 3 days were about to arrive. In these few days, no one went to disturb Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng stayed at his place and didn't come out at all. Everyone was sure that Zhao Feng was using this time to cultivate and sharpen his spear just before the battle. But in reality, the majority of Zhao Feng's time these days was spent on the illusion fish picture and the 7 array books. Zhao Feng wanted to quickly understand the 7 books old man Zhang gave him so that he could enter the 1,000-leaf pond and improve his body-strengthening cultivation. Reaching the ascending realm with his body was Zhao Feng's current goal. For this, he also ate a marrow cleansing pill that he had made himself. The marrow cleansing pill was extremely beneficial to living beings below the ascended realm as it could accelerate the transformation of the body and improve the overall quality of the human body. But because this was his second time using the marrow cleansing pill, the effect was halved compared to the first time. But because of how the mysterious left eye changed Zhao Feng's body, even if it was only half of the effect, it wasn't any weaker than the effect of the marrow cleansing pill. After using the marrow cleansing pill this time, Zhao Feng circulated silver wall technique and returning breath technique. He felt that his entire body, blood, bones, and organs had become more active and his body had become stronger. The increase in his body's state meant that Zhao Feng's silver wall technique would become even stronger. He could even feel that the returning breath inner strength he had refined was stronger than before. On the third day, Zhao Feng confirmed that the returning breath inner strength had reached the highest level, and the amount and density of his inner strength had exceeded the highest level. This meant that Zhao Feng's returning breath inner strength was slightly better than the max level of this cultivation technique. Therefore, the density of Zhao Feng's inner strength was comparable to someone at the half-step ascending realm. The only regret was that the silver wall technique wasn't able to increase in a short amount of time, and it was still a distance away from the peak of the 9th level. However, Zhao Feng understood that the increase in his body's vitality meant that he would become even stronger after breaking through. Therefore, there was no problem for him to reach the peak of the 9th level of the silver wall technique. He would be able to reach the peak within 10 days. As for the remaining marrow cleansing pill, Zhao Feng was prepared to sell it to earn back his capital. He used 5 substandard primal crystal stones to create 2 marrow cleansing pills and ate one for himself. The remaining pill was also worth 5 substandard primal crystal stones. On this morning, as Zhao Feng walked out of the courtyard, he took in a breath of fresh air and subconsciously stretched his body. As soon as Zhao Feng walked out, he realized that there were some outer disciples watching him. Has Zhao Feng come out yet? Today's the day of the challenge. He won't be a turtle hiding in his shell, right? These outer disciples were the type that wanted to see the world in chaos. Who didn't like watching a show, especially when it was a challenge that would shake the entire outer disciples? As the person in question, Zhao Feng became the focus of the outer disciples. Over the past few days, his name had repeatedly appeared in the outer sect. Brother Zhao. Yun Mengxiang and Yang Qingshan soon arrived. At the beginning, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were slightly annoyed and blamed Zhao Feng for being too impulsive. Let's go. Zhao Feng's eyes were calm, but there was a sharpness to them that made others not dare to look at him. The hearts of Yang Qingshan and the others shuddered. At this moment, junior brother Zhao gave off the feeling of a sword being unsheathed, a sharpness that could pierce through everything. They seemed to realize that they had never seen through brother Zhao. In the past, Bei Moi was the one that they feared the most. However, the two of them knew how strong Bei Moi was. And brother Zhao in front of them, from the Guanjuan Palace to the Broken Moon clan, had always given off a feeling that they couldn't see through him. It didn't take long for Zhao Feng, surrounded by many outer disciples, to arrive at the challenge stage reserved for substitute inner disciples. More and more people gathered near the stage. The outer disciples were the ones with the most people in the Broken Moon clan. From the age of 10 to the age of 30, there were hundreds of disciples of all ages. Today, there were 200 to 300 people gathered on the stage and almost half of them were outer disciples. Zhao Feng's gaze quickly scanned across the crowd and he soon saw Xiao Sunday. Being the challenger, Xiao Sun had arrived even earlier. Following that, Ho Yuan and the Hong brothers entered the stage one after another. These three were all experts at the half-step ascended realm and the aura they gave off made the nearby outer disciples feel uneasy. This was especially so for Ho Yuan, who was ranked third amongst the outer disciples. He was like a tyrant that made everyone's heart feel as if it had been struck by lightning. Zhao Feng knew a thing or two about Ho Yuan and his gaze landed on the Hong brothers. The Hong clan brothers, Hong San and Hong Si, were a pair of twins that looked exactly the same. They both had short brown hair, robust and well-proportioned figures, and as they walked, their muscles and bones contained explosive force yet didn't lose their nimbleness and strength. I'll be the host for today's substitute inner disciple challenge. Deacon Chiu slowly walked out, and his mental energy pressure from the seventh sky of the ascended realm was like a mountain that made all the outer disciples realize that they were at the bottom of the clan. The crowd quietened down. Several deacons and vice-deacons from the outer hall division had expressions of interest on their faces. The first battle, rank 16, Xiao Sun, challenges rank 13, Zhao Feng. Deacon Chiu's emotionless voice sounded across the crowd. Tang. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Sun's figure turned into a fiery blur as he landed on the stage. Zhao Feng took a few steps and landed on the stage. The first battle, Xiao Sun challenging Zhao Feng. The outer disciples who had just joined the sect were instantly excited. Xiao Sun and Zhao Feng were both outer disciples of the Broken Moon clan. Xiao Sun had always been ranked first due to his cultivation, and Zhao Feng was famous amongst the new disciples due to his strength. Zhao Feng, you've accepted my challenge and you dare to challenge Hou Yuan and the other two at the same time. You obviously don't put me in your eyes. Xiao Sun murmured in his heart. A red light spread in his eyes, burning with the flames of battle intent. Under the effect of the middle-tier common rank, blazing sun art, a layer of fiery red aura surrounded the entire area. A blazing and violent high-temperature aura suddenly spread out, causing his entire person to look like a god of war that was raging with flames. Chapter 127. In that instant, Xiao Sun's strength and battle intent rose to the maximum, as if it had been ignited. His cultivation at the half-step ascended realm and his middle-class mortal scorching sun manual made his aura suppress the crowd, and he could attack Zhao Feng whenever he wanted. How can a newbie who just joined the clan know a middle-class mortal skill? The outer disciples near the dueling ring were shocked. Even amongst the substitute inner disciples, I've never heard of anyone else practicing a middle-class mortal skill apart from Lin Fan, who's ranked first. Having a middle-class mortal skill meant that Xiao Sun had an advantage over the other half-step ascended realm cultivators. Shit! I can't believe Brother Zhao's first opponent is so troublesome. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan looked at each other solemnly. Everyone knew that Zhao Feng would face 4 battles today, and none of his opponents would be easy to deal with, each more terrifying than the last. Therefore, what they cared about wasn't whether or not Zhao Feng could win, but how many battles could he last. Looking at the current situation, Xiao Sun's first opponent had unimaginable strength. Hee, maybe we won't have the chance to go up. The Hong brothers laughed weirdly. On the stage, Zhao Feng was calm as he inspected his first opponent. He would face 4 battles today. Therefore, he couldn't drag out the first battle and had to end it as soon as possible. Even the first 3 battles had to be finished in a short amount of time. The truly terrifying opponent was Hou Yuan, so Zhao Feng had to ensure that he had enough battle power. Zhao Feng. The first battle will be your end. Xiao Sun's eyes flashed with a sharp red light as he gathered his blazing sun inner strength on his fists and legs. Boom! A red afterimage flashed and an explosive aura filled the area around Zhao Feng. What a terrifying explosive power and inner force condensation speed. Zhao Feng felt as if he had fallen into a wave of fire and his skin was burning. Before he could even attack, his opponent had already gathered his blazing sun inner strength and unleashed a powerful attack. Boom boom, the fiery red fist was like an explosion of fire as it landed in front of Zhao Feng. Flowing wind form. Smoking transparent step. Zhao Feng's figure flickered as he stood on the spot. Sometimes, his figure was formless, and other times, it would appear. Under the pressure of the blazing sun's internal energy, Zhao Feng was like a fish swimming back and forth. As the illusory figure and the red light intertwined, the audience was overwhelmed by the sight. Most people were just there to watch the show, not knowing what was going on. However, some of the peak ninth rank or half-step transcending realm disciples had a serious expression on their faces. They could see Xiao Sun's attack clearly, but not Zhao Feng's movement skill. Ever since he had comprehended the illusion fish picture, Zhao Feng's smoke-shapeless steps had been cultivated to perfection. In the eyes of the crowd, Zhao Feng's figure was illusory, full of endless variables. Although Xiao Sun's attack was powerful and had almost reached the peak of half-step ascended realm, it couldn't even touch the corner of Zhao Feng's shirt. His speed wasn't bad either, but he couldn't see through Zhao Feng's movement skill and was tricked by the illusions time and time again. This movement skill seems to have some sort of array in it. Could it be? Deacon Qiu stared at Zhao Feng's illusory figure with shock on his face. The two exchanged blows for a while. Xiao Sun's Blazing Sun Manual's power had reached a terrifying level, but he couldn't hit his opponent time and time again. His attack power had shocked some of the top 10 outer disciples. Even Zhao Feng didn't want to fight him head-on. Firstly, it was a middle-class mortal skill, which was too powerful even if Xiao Sun wasn't skilled enough. Secondly, Zhao Feng needed to conserve his energy for the next challenge. Blazing Sun 3 Heavy Strike. Xiao Sun's body glowed red as he condensed his Blazing Sun inner energy into a red fist that exploded like a cloud of fire, stacking 3 times and forming a large-scale shockwave. The faint red airwave carried a terrifying heat that spread in all directions. In terms of power, this move had already surpassed Ji Fengyun, who was originally ranked 13th. No wonder Xiao Sun had the confidence to challenge Xiao Feng. Break! Zhao Feng's illusory figure flickered around Xiao Sunday. At this moment, he finally made his move. Poof! 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 His index finger flickered in the air as it shot towards Xiao Sun in an arc or a straight line, piercing through the surrounding burning sun aura. Xiao Sun's expression changed as his face turned pale. Zhao Feng's finger attack had gone beyond logic. It was full of spirituality, making it hard to differentiate between real and fake. He could only hear the sound of the finger exploding as he tried to find the source of the attack through his ears. However, Star Finger, which had merged with the illusion fish picture, was a completely new offensive martial art. It was more powerful and full of changes, giving people all sorts of illusions. What the eyes and the ears saw and heard might not be real. Because the eyes and the ears can sometimes deceive people and be deceived by illusions. Puchi. A finger attack landed on Xiao Sun's shoulder, leaving a bloody mark. Xiao Sun's body trembled. Then, a second, then a third, Xiao Sun was completely on the defensive as he madly circulated his Blazing Sun Manual, trying to counterattack. However, he couldn't even touch the corner of Zhao Feng's clothes. Zhao Feng's movement and attacks were mysterious and unpredictable, always out of Xiao Sun's expectations. In just a short while, Xiao Sun's body was left with 7 to 8 bloody marks. His hair was a mess and his face was pale white as he panted heavily. Give up. 2 illusory figures overlapped in front of Xiao Sun, revealing Zhao Feng's real body. Xiao Sun had used up a lot of his energy and he was heavily injured. If it wasn't for Zhao Feng showing mercy, he would have died long ago. But throughout the entire battle, he couldn't even touch the corner of Zhao Feng's robes. The fire in his heart made him lose all reason. Blazing Sun Wave Breaker. Xiao Sun's red palm slashed towards Zhao Feng. This scene caused Yang Qingshan and the rest to exclaim, thinking that Brother Zhao was too careless. Poof! Zhao Feng's figure disappeared, as if he had disappeared into thin air. Xiao Sun cursed in his heart, but before he could react, a sharp finger pierced through his shoulder from behind. The power of this finger was condensed to the extreme, and it pierced through his body like a needle. Xiao Sun's body stiffened, and his face turned pale white. He turned his head around and saw Zhao Feng's cold gaze. If this was a life and death battle, you would have died many times over. Hearing this, Xiao Sun's body trembled, and his face alternated between white and red. Plop! He was sent flying by Zhao Feng's kick, and fell off the stage. Hua! The outer sect disciples below the stage were in an uproar. Many of them looked at the youth on the stage in disbelief. The first round was nothing to Zhao Feng. From the beginning to the end, Xiao Sun couldn't even touch the corner of Zhao Feng's clothes, and was toyed with. Using Zhao Feng's words, if this was a life-and-death battle, Xiao Sun would have died many times over. So what if his cultivation was high, and so what if his attack was strong? He couldn't even withstand a single blow in a real battle. This was the classic case of high cultivation but low battle power. First round, Xiao Sun has failed. Deacon Qiu announced. After Xiao Sun's defeat, the Hong brothers stopped underestimating him, and their expressions turned solemn. Xiao Sun's strength was comparable to the top 10 outer disciples. And this elite outer disciple was defeated by Zhao Feng in such a playful manner. One could imagine that Zhao Feng's strength was only stronger than the two of them. Second round, ranked 13, Zhao Feng challenges ranked 9, Hong Si. In the second round, the challenger became Zhao Feng. Zeng. Hong Si's well-built figure was like a leopard as he leapt onto the stage. Zhao Feng's left eye slightly contracted. He realized that Hong Si's movement skill was extremely agile, and his bones and flesh were emitting a powerful force. Agile movement skill, decent body tempering skills, and powerful physique. Adding on his cultivation at the half-step ascended realm. He had a rough estimate of Hong Si's strength. At least in terms of movement skill and physique, Hong Si was definitely stronger than Xiao Sunday Iron Plow Fist. Hong Si's figure leapt and appeared in front of Zhao Feng nimbly. His movement skill was strange, but his attacks were wide. His arms were like a 10,000-kilogram plow, slashing across the sky. Pucci, on the hard black stone platform, there were gullies that were 1 to 2 feet deep. Stone chips flew everywhere. Hong Si's iron plow fist was domineering and awe-inspiring. It swept through everything, and based on his own style, he carved out astonishing trenches. Chi waves and stone fragments tumbled everywhere. Zhao Feng immediately used smoking transparent step and he moved between Hong Si's attacks, making it hard to tell which was real and which was fake. However, Hong Si's movement skill was much better than Xiao Sun's, and he managed to catch up to Zhao Feng's movement skill. 1-star finger. Suddenly, a sharp and explosive finger force pierced through Hong Si's defensive inner force layer in a few arcs from the gaps in Hong Si's attack. Pucci. A bloody gash was left on Hong Si's thigh and he instantly roared in anger. The reason why Zhao Feng was able to succeed was because he had used his left eye to find a flaw in Hong Si's defense. Hong Si, who had been hit, didn't even know what was going on, so there were only a few people who could see through it. After his thigh was injured, Hong Si's movement skill became slower and he was continuously hit by Zhao Feng's star finger, leaving close to 10 bloody gashes on his body. In the end, he was kicked out of the stage by Zhao Feng. Plop. Hong Si fell flat on his face and he gritted his teeth. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng had injured his thigh, he wouldn't have lost so unjustly. Old 3. There's something weird about this brat, you have to be careful. Hong Si said to Hong San, who was about to enter the stage. His brother's strength was above his, and his mental state was more stable. Hong San. There's no need for you to defeat this kid, just delay him for a period of time and wear down his strength. A voice sounded out by his ear. Hong San nodded when he heard this, and he stepped onto the stage unhurriedly. Zhao Feng couldn't help but size up his third opponent. Hong San's expression and aura were much more stable than his younger brother, and it was most suitable to be described as stable. Iron Hawk Divine Claw. Hong San's movement technique allowed him to advance and retreat, and he was agile and nimble. His attacks were extremely swift and fierce, and his claw slapped out like a bolt of lightning. Slap. That swift claw was sufficient to instantly shatter a steel plate a few inches thick, and a sharp finger mark flashed through the air and a sharp and horrifying sound resounded out. Smoky shadowless steps. Zhao Feng's figure flashed and dodged Hong San's terrifying attack. Subsequently, the two of them intersected and exchanged blows. Zhao Feng noticed that Hong San never attacked rashly, and he fought with all his heart, meticulously, and didn't underestimate his opponent in the slightest. Hong San had a steady expression, and his gaze was sharp as he stared coldly at Zhao Feng. "Kid surnamed Zhao, I admit that you're stronger than me, but it isn't so easy to win easily from me." His objective in this battle was to wear down Zhao Feng's strength, and that was all. Chapter 128. Facing his third opponent, Hong Si, Zhao Feng felt slightly troubled. Hong Si's strength was stronger than Xiao Sun and Hong San, but that wasn't the main reason. What was troublesome was that his opponent was calm. Firstly, he admitted that he wasn't as good as Zhao Feng. With this in mind, he naturally wouldn't underestimate his opponent and would use 200% of his strength to fight against Zhao Feng. Secondly, Hong San didn't seek to win. His only goal was to stall Zhao Feng and wear down his opponent's strength. Under the situation where he didn't seek to win, Hong San only sought to not win. He controlled his mistakes to the minimum. Although Zhao Feng's movement technique was profound, Hong San didn't seek to win and instead, he attacked randomly to test Zhao Feng's position. Although he seeks to win, I only need a few dozen moves to win. But Zhao Feng's figure flickered and appeared in front of Hong San. Facing the calm Hong Si, Zhao Feng decided to change his strategy. Rather than winning through tricks and wasting a few dozen moves, he might as well bring out his true strength and win with overwhelming strength. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and emitted a sharp aura from his body. The boundless returning origin inner force surged like thunder. In that instant, Zhao Feng's aura rose by half a level. Hong San's expression instantly changed. Ho Yuan, who was below the stage, squinted his eyes. Many people were flabbergasted. They hadn't expected Zhao Feng to be holding back all this time. This meant that the battle between Xiao Sun and Hong San didn't exhaust Zhao Feng at all. How is this possible? The amount of inner force he has is even greater than mine. Xiao Sun stared at Zhao Feng, who was getting stronger and stronger, and his pale face was filled with defeat. First star finger. Zhao Feng didn't hold back as he used his max-level star finger. Even though he didn't merge the four wind stances into it, the light from his finger was enough to shock the soul. Poof! Poof! Puff! Numerous starpoint finger forces dragged along rumbling and piercing howls as they pounced towards Hong San like flying insects. Hong San's face was pale as he activated his half-step mortal shedding stage inner energy, forming a layer of inner energy barrier around his body. At the same time, he waved both of his arms. Boundless Tai Mountain. Hong San swung his arms as an oppressive aura that was steady like Mount Tai and possessed boundless might soared out from his entire body, and his thick and vast tornadoes moved to greet Zhao Feng's ceaseless attacks. Puff! Puff! Bang! Between the two of them, a shockwave exploded, and dust flew everywhere. At first glance, this was clearly a competition of releasing inner force. But after a few seconds, Hong Si's burly figure stiffened with a muffled groan and retreated. Even though he was fighting with all his might, he still left a flaw and was struck by Zhao Feng's star finger. Zhao Feng pursed his lips into a smile. He didn't believe that his opponent could be so impenetrable when he was fighting with all his might. Sometimes, since tricks didn't work, it was more effective to use the most direct and brutal method. With Zhao Feng's strength, he was able to suppress his opponent, so he instantly opened an opening. First star finger. Tornado stance. Zhao Feng seized the opportunity to chase after Hong San. This time, he merged the tornado stance into it, causing the power of star finger to rise to a whole new level. Poof! Poof! Whoosh! The star finger force dragged along the sound of wind and thunder, and it was as if stars were exploding. The power of the attack had even exceeded the limits of the consolidated stage. All the outer court disciples present were dumbfounded. At this moment, everyone had to admit that Zhao Feng had the strength to at least enter the top 5 of the outer court, and he even had the qualifications to challenge the top 3. Barf. Hong Si endured a few moves before spitting out a mouthful of blood. A few bloody holes were left on his body, and he let out a muffled groan as he jumped off the stage. "I've lost." Hong Si had a bitter expression on his face. He'd exerted all his strength and sought stability instead of victory. He was completely stable and watertight, yet he'd still lost. According to his strategy, he wanted to stall for time and wear down Zhao Feng's strength. However, he didn't expect Zhao Feng to defeat him in a short period of time. "I've tried my best." Hong Si looked at Ho Yuan helplessly. Ho Yuan's expression was indifferent, and he was as calm as a mountain as he transmitted his voice. "You've already forced Zhao Feng to use his full strength, and he's not completely unscathed." Zhao Feng's 3 consecutive victories caused a huge uproar below the stage. Before today's challenge, no one expected that Zhao Feng would be so tyrannical, and he would be able to defeat his 3 opponents so quickly. From the current situation, it could be seen that Zhao Feng had easily defeated his 3 opponents. There had been no hard battles. After winning the challenge, Zhao Feng would replace Hong Si's ranking. 4th round, the 8th-ranked Zhao Feng will challenge the 3rd-ranked Ho Yuan. Deacon Qiu's eyes flashed with anticipation. After 3 consecutive victories, would Zhao Feng be able to win the last challenge? Everyone knew that Ho Yuan was Zhao Feng's biggest opponent today. Being ranked 3rd in the outer court was equivalent to being the overlord of the outer court. Ho Yuan's strength had shocked the outer court for many years, and he even had the strength to challenge those at the transcending realm. To a certain extent, Ho Yuan's strength had already surpassed the 9th stage of the consolidated realm. "Zhao Feng, you don't have a chance against me." Ho Yuan's body landed heavily on the stage, causing it to tremble. Cracks that looked like spider webs could be seen on the solid, pure black stone slab. Just this landing alone had displayed Ho Yuan's strength that surpassed those at the half-step transcending realm. Pfft! Ho Yuan's shirt was torn apart, revealing his iron skin and bronze drum. His entire body seemed to be made of gold, and the aura emitted from his body was enough to scare away peak fierce beasts. Hiss! Many outer court disciples sucked in cold breaths with shock in their eyes. The aura is almost close to a king-level fierce beast. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Compared to half a month ago, Ho Yuan's strength had obviously increased. No wonder he could beat the 3rd-ranked disciple. It wasn't hard for Zhao Feng to see with his left eye that Ho Yuan's body had reached the limits of the consolidated realm and was close to the ascended realm with his body. No matter if it was Zhao Feng or Ho Yuan, they both focused on body-strengthening techniques. Their goal was the same, to reach the ascended realm with their body. But compared to Zhao Feng, Ho Yuan's mastery in this aspect was slightly better. After all, Ho Yuan had joined the clan earlier and had trained in body-strengthening techniques since he was young. If he took another half a step forward, he would be the first outer court disciple to reach the ascended realm with his body in the last 100 years. Dang! Dang! Ho Yuan took one step at a time towards Zhao Feng and the wild force had reached a terrifying level. Little metal fist. Ho Yuan's fist seemed to have expanded, emitting a layer of golden luster. It kept enlarging in his field of vision, giving him the illusion that it could fill up the entire world. Zhao Feng's left eye instantly contracted and his expression became solemn. Pang! In the instant he punched out, Ho Yuan's body and fist had already arrived in front of Zhao Feng. The explosive power of his body and inner strength made Ho Yuan's speed far surpass the Hong brothers. All the outer disciples present were dumbfounded. The power of Ho Yuan's fist could instantly kill a cultivator at the 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Silver Wall Mountain Splitter. In a split second, Zhao Feng's inner strength also exploded. The fists collided with each other, filled with violence and killing the target without any technique. All the outer disciples could hear was a loud explosion. Their eardrums buzzed, and their blood and qi churned. In that instant, they lost their sense of hearing. Tang! 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 Zhao Feng and Hou Yuan both retreated at the same time, and the cracks on the ground continued to spread. Zhao Feng retreated 9 steps before stabilizing himself, his face as calm as ever. Hou Yuanzi retreated 8 steps, his body swaying slightly, his eyes filled with shock. This was obviously the result of a tie. However, this scene caused the outer disciples below the ring to cry out in astonishment, and their eyes to drop open in shock. This Zhao Feng didn't lose to Hou Yuan in a head-on clash. This guy also focuses on body strengthening, but he's actually able to fight Hou Yuan. The stage was in an uproar. No one had expected this to happen. The most shocked was Hou Yuan. He had trained in body strengthening techniques and he naturally knew how difficult it was. However, he couldn't imagine that a 14 or 15-year-old youth in front of him would have body strengthening skills that were close to his. One had to know that he was 25 or 26 years old, which was more than 10 years older than Zhao Feng. If he couldn't break through to the ascended realm within 30, he would be abandoned by the clan. This person's body strengthening skills are indeed better than mine. Zhao Feng was as calm as water as he slowly opened his left eye. He trained in the silver wall technique, which increased his power and focused on defense. Hou Yuan's body strengthening technique wasn't any weaker than the silver wall technique, but it was more profound. Zhao Feng, I didn't think that you would also focus on body strengthening, and your level of cultivation isn't any lower than mine. However, you'll definitely lose today. Hou Yuan's expression was cold as his muscles seemed to be made of steel. The aura he gave off became more terrifying. Under Zhao Feng's left eye, he found that Hou Yuan's inner strength and body strengthening technique had perfectly merged with each other. Crack! Crack! Hou Yuan's bones cracked and gave off a shocking aura. Zhao Feng's heart jumped and he felt as if he was facing a Lord-tier deadly beast. He didn't know how profound Hou Yuan's body strengthening skills were, but he had perfectly merged his inner strength with his bones. Gold-bronze casting body. Hou Yuan's aura rose by half a level and a layer of gold light appeared on his body, making him look like a statue of Buddha. After using the gold-bronze casting body, Hou Yuan had the strength to challenge cultivators at the first sky of the ascended realm. Small gold metal fist. A golden fist of energy tore through the air and engulfed Zhao Feng like a bolt of lightning. The speed was too fast and under normal circumstances, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to react in time. At this moment, Zhao Feng's left eye was fully opened and he circulated returning breath technique and silver wall technique to block Hou Yuan's punch. Boom! Zhao Feng's body flew out tens of yards and his blood boiled. If it wasn't for the fact that his silver wall technique specialized in defense, that punch would have made him cough out blood. Get down! Hou Yuan forced Zhao Feng to the edge of the stage. As long as he fell off the stage, it would be considered Zhao Feng's loss. Shua! Zhao Feng's body was destroyed by the punch. This time, Hou Yuan missed. Flowing wind stance. Smoking transparent step. Zhao Feng pushed his movement skill to the max level and merged the flowing wind stance into it. Instantly, Zhao Feng's speed reached a high level of mastery. His intent was profound and it was full of variations. The illusion fish picture slowly appeared in his movement skill and Zhao Feng's movement skill became more and more like a fish in water. Compared to him, Hou Yuan's movement technique was a shortcoming. Many times, he was tricked by Zhao Feng's movement skill and his attacks missed. At this moment, Zhao Feng opened his left eye and he secretly observed the theory behind Hou Yuan's gold-bronze casting body. Chapter 129. Gold-bronze casting body. This was one of Hou Yuan's body strengthening skills. Once he used it, his body's power and defense would reach a whole new level. Zhao Feng had been sent flying and was almost injured from that attack. At this moment, Zhao Feng opened his left eye to observe the principles and flaws of this move. Under his supervision, Ho Yuan's body started to glow with a red and gold light that merged into his body. The perfect combination of body strengthening and inner strength. Just half a step more and his body would be at the ascended realm. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. No wonder there were rumors that the top few substitute inner disciples had the strength to challenge those at the ascended realm. Body refinement techniques were the most primitive and simple method of cultivation, and they stressed upon suppressing others with force and destroying all techniques with force. Therefore, the flaws of body strengthening skills were much smaller than normal skills. Zhao Feng opened his left eye and couldn't find any obvious flaws of the gold-bronze casting body. Although he could roughly understand the principles of the gold-bronze casting body, the two's body strengthening skills had different styles, so it was impossible for them to use it on him in such a short amount of time. Brat! Let's see how long you can run. Ho Yuan's loud voice sounded and his attacks slowed down as he tried to capture Zhao Feng's figure. After merging the illusion fish picture, Zhao Feng's movement skill had many changes and it was more suitable for chaotic situations. The more the opponent's movements and attacks, the easier it was for them to be fooled. If the enemy was calm, cautious, and sought stability, the effects of the illusion fish picture would be reduced. In a short amount of time, Ho Yuan seemed to be on the defensive. At least before he found the pattern of Zhao Feng's movement skill, he wouldn't waste his energy. If the opponent doesn't move, then I'll move. Star Finger. Zhao Feng coldly laughed as he used his max-level Star Finger, which shot towards Ho Yuan. Ding ding ding, sparks appeared on Ho Yuan's body. Those sharp finger attacks weren't able to break through his defense. Ha ha ha, this is your attack. What a powerful defense. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Gold-bronze casting body allowed Ho Yuan's internal strength and body refining technique to be perfectly integrated. The defensive power it brought was even stronger than his silver aura shield. Small diamond fist. Ho Yuan cried out in alarm. He finally locked onto Zhao Feng's figure and punched out savagely. The air around Zhao Feng was instantly torn apart. Even before the fist arrived, the powerful wind force was already enough to suppress an ordinary 8th or 9th level of the consolidated stage. Silver Aura Energy Barrier. Zhao Feng pushed his Guiyuan internal force to the limit and activated the Silver Wall technique. A layer of silver light appeared on his body. Pang pang, the punch hit the target. The silver chi light shield rippled for a moment and quickly dimmed. Zhao Feng felt as if there was a mountain on his body as he withstood the boundlessly overbearing energy, causing his breathing to become hurried. Under this sort of pressure, the convergence chi technique was activated to surpass the peak perfection stage, causing the silver dipper energy barrier to become even thicker. Crack! The silver dipper energy barrier finally broke under the fist that was enough to reach the ascended realm. However, Zhao Feng was one step ahead and borrowed the force to retreat tens of feet. He then activated the smoking transparent step and with a sway of his body, a few afterimages appeared as he retreated. Tang tang. Ho Yuan also retreated a few steps due to the silver dipper energy barrier breaking. His expression became serious for the first time. From the start of the fight until now, the power, movement skill and inner strength that Zhao Feng had displayed had exceeded his expectations time and time again. He was clearly an opponent that could compete with him. Especially in terms of movement skill, Ho Yuan had to admit that he wasn't as good as Zhao Feng. The illusion fish picture that Zhao Feng had comprehended was the best for movement skills. Furthermore, the smoking transparent step had already reached the peak perfection stage. Furthermore, the convergence chi technique had given Zhao Feng a strong foundation. His meridians were long and he was comparable to those at the half-step ascended realm. If he wanted to drag it out, Zhao Feng would be almost undefeatable. This was also what Ho Yuan was worried about. But unexpectedly, Zhao Feng didn't plan to drag it out. His goal wasn't just to fight to a draw. Star Finger. Tornado Stance. Gold Metal Fist. Silver Wall Mountain Splitter. On the stage, the two figures intersected and separated from each other. Between them, Zhao Feng was always on the offensive while Ho Yuan was on the defensive. The outer disciples on the stage were shocked. This Zhao Feng actually has the strength to fight Ho Yuan. Humph. He's only relying on his movement skill to deal with Ho Yuan. If he were to fight head-on, he wouldn't be Ho Yuan's opponent. Movement skill is also a part of strength. In this aspect, he can almost be considered the best in the outer disciples. No matter what, everyone was shocked by Zhao Feng's true strength. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the two people on the stage. Especially Zhao Feng's movement skill, it was profound and had endless changes. It was always unexpected. Out of 10 attacks, Ho Yuan would only be able to lock onto his target 2 or 3 times. Sometimes, it depended on luck. The battle between the two had reached its climax. After 40 to 50 exchanges, there was still no winner. Tornado Stance. Mysterious Wind Palm. Suddenly, Zhao Feng leapt into the air and his attacking style changed dramatically. An azure glow started to form on his palm and it started to spin. The glow became brighter and brighter and the surrounding wind started to tear. That palm seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast. It seemed to be in harmony with the surroundings, as if it was borrowing the power of nature. It was like a whirlpool in the middle of a river, swallowing and cutting everything. It's that move. Below the stage, Ji Fengyun and the others were shocked and held their breaths. The move that Zhao Feng executed was extremely powerful. It was the mysterious wind palm that he used to defeat Ji Fengyun. Compared to that day, the power of Zhao Feng's move had increased by twofold. Gold Metal Pillar. Ho Yuan's expression was solemn as he executed a move that combined both offense and defense. His hands formed a bridge and protected his front. He then exerted his strength, as if he was going to prop up the sky. The two powerful moves clashed in midair. The sharp aura tore at each other and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. One of the two was rooted to the ground, while the other was floating in midair. It was as if they had fused into a statue. A violent wave of dust swept out in all directions, causing the people outside the stage to be unable to see what was going on inside. After a breath of time, there was a loud bang as the two figures separated. Tang! 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 One of the gold metal figures groaned as he retreated. The other figure flipped and landed on the ground. As the dust settled, everyone looked at the two on the stage. Zhao Feng was still the same as before, but his clothes were slightly damaged. As for Ho Yuan, there were dozens of bloody marks on his body, but it seemed like they were only superficial wounds. Even so, the crowd couldn't help but take a deep breath. No one had ever seen Ho Yuanyu in such a sorry state. Maybe he will be the new number one in the outer disciples. A cold man's voice came from not far away, approaching the challenge stage. Many people's bodies stiffened upon hearing the voice. Especially the substitute inner disciples, such as Ji Fengyun and the Hong brothers, they all looked at the person who spoke. In the crowd, a path was made in tacit understanding, and a steady and tenacious young man walked over. This young man had an ordinary appearance and a calm expression, but he made the outer disciples respect him. Number one in the outer disciples, Lin Fan. Even he was alarmed. I heard that Lin Fan has a record of defeating disciples in the transcending mortality stage. Lin Fan's appearance caused a huge commotion near the stage. Number one in the outer disciples. Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang, Yang Qingshan and the rest all looked at this legendary figure. Ever since they had entered the outer disciples, they had heard of Lin Fan's achievements more than once. It was said that Lin Fan's talent was average and he only had a half-spiritual body. He had barely managed to enter the sect. But a person like him had become the number one in the outer disciples through his hard work. Lin Fan, you're talking about Zhao Feng. He will become the number one in the outer disciples. Even you think you're not Zhao Feng's opponent? Some of the substitute inner disciples couldn't help but ask. Firstly, his movement skill is undoubtedly number one in the outer disciples. Even I can't compare to him. Lin Fan paused slightly as he said this. Some of the substitute inner disciples nodded their heads. They had nothing to say about Zhao Feng's movement skill. Secondly, Hou Yuan's defense is number one in the outer disciples. Up until now, Zhao Feng hasn't been injured, but Hou Yuan has been injured, even if it's just a light injury. Lin Fan smiled. Yun Mengxiang secretly sized up the number one in the outer disciples and found that he gave off an ordinary feeling. Lin Fan analyzed, this means that Zhao Feng's offense, defense, speed and movement skills have all reached a peak, so he's definitely better than Hou Yuan. And Hou Yuan's defense is number one in the outer disciples. If Zhao Feng can defeat him, he will become the new number one in the outer disciples. Hearing this, everyone felt that it made sense. After all, even the second substitute inner disciple had only fought to a draw with Hou Yuan. At this time, the situation on the stage changed once again. 1-star finger. Partial wind stance. Zhao Feng suddenly merged the third stance of the 4 wind stances, the partial wind stance. The profundity of the partial wind stance was even stronger than the tornado stance. And now, Zhao Feng's cultivation, body, and even star finger had far surpassed his previous self. Puqi, the blade-like force of the finger cut through the air, condensed and pulsed, shining with a sharp light. Zhao Feng's finger seemed to have turned into a sharp blade that pierced through Hou Yuan's waist, causing blood to spurt out. How could this be? Hou Yuan's body froze as he looked at the shocking wound on his waist. He couldn't believe that his powerful defense had been broken through so easily. Whoosh! Another finger mark that was as thin as a silver thread swept past his face. Hou Yuan froze for a moment. Then, a faint line of blood appeared on his neck. His hair stood on end and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He felt as if he had just walked through the gates of hell. That second finger was clearly holding back, or else it would have definitely cut his throat. As I thought. Zhao Feng stood in front of him, his eyes flashing. Without a doubt, the 1-star finger combined with the partial wind stance was Zhao Feng's strongest single target attack. After all, he had only comprehended 20 to 30% of the burning wind stance. The mystic wind palm combined with the tornado stance had a strong continuous attack, but it wasn't as effective as the partial wind stance against Hou Yuan. The partial wind stance was like the wind, seeking to cut like a blade. It was the bane of physique tempering techniques and was good at breaking through defenses. I've lost. Hou Yuan took a while to react, but he had to accept the reality. There was no point in continuing the fight. Because Zhao Feng had mastered the partial wind stance and combined it with the 1-star finger, he could instantly cut through the defense that he was so proud of. Chapter 130. Challenger, Zhao Feng wins. Deacon Qiu's voice resounded across the area, waking the outer disciples up. Hou Yuan had lost. Shock appeared on the faces of the outer disciples and they felt that everything had happened too quickly. Especially at the end, Zhao Feng's attack had easily broken through Hou Yuan's number 1 outer disciple defense. His speed wasn't as good as Zhao Feng's and his strongest defense had been easily broken through. How could Hou Yuan still have the confidence to fight again? The final confrontation even shocked the number 1 outer disciple, Lin Fan. What a strong attack! It's enough to threaten those at the first sky of the ascended realm. Lin Fan was shocked as he inspected Zhao Feng, who had shocked the outer disciples. A substitute inner disciple had won 4 battles in a row. This was something that hadn't happened in the past 100 years. After all, according to the rules, there was no such thing as continuous challenges. All the outer disciples present, including the substitute inner disciples, stared at Zhao Feng with shock and wariness. Since Zhao Feng can beat Hou Yuan, Jiang Yuyan, who is ranked second, definitely isn't his match. His current strength might not be inferior to Lin Fan, who's ranked first. While the crowd was still in shock, they also started to discuss in low voices. The top 20 outer disciples were all substitute inner disciples. Lin Fan, who was ranked first, had a record of beating those at the Ascended Realm. Jiang Yuyan and Hou Yuan, who were ranked second, had the same strength, but Jiang Yuyan also found it hard to break through Hou Yuan's defense. Zhao Feng had won so easily against Hou Yuan. It was obvious that he was stronger than the person in second place. I'm not his match. A young girl in the crowd looked at Zhao Feng on the stage and muttered to herself. She was ranked second, Jiang Yuyan. After seeing the battle between Zhao Feng and Hou Yuan, Jiang Yuyan came to this conclusion, albeit helplessly. In terms of speed, Zhao Feng was ranked first. In terms of offense, he was also ranked first when he easily broke through Hou Yuan's defense. In terms of defense and physical strength, Zhao Feng was just below Hou Yuan. This was an abnormally powerful rising star with comprehensive strength. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuyan was left with nothing but fear. She did not have a strong defensive body like Hou Yuan. If she were to face Zhao Feng, she might lose even more miserably. However, both Jiang Yuyan and Hou Yuan believed that there was another person in the outer sect who had a chance of defeating Zhao Feng. That was Lin Fan, who was ranked number 1. So you're Zhao Feng, very strong. From now on, you are the new number 1 in the outer sect. Lin Fan smiled. There was an uproar as soon as he said that. What was going on? Everyone had their doubts. Everyone was deeply convinced of Lin Fan's strength. Could it be that even the number 1 outer sect disciple, Lin Fan, admitted that he was inferior to Zhao Feng? Lin Fan, why did you hand over the first place of the outer sect to him when there was no competition? Hou Yuan and Jiang Yuyan were reluctant to give up. They understood Lin Fan's strength. He had even defeated transcending mortality stage cultivators before, so he should be stronger than Zhao Feng. Hearing that, Zhao Feng was slightly shocked. He glanced at Lin Fan with his left eye and instantly understood. Ha ha ha. I'm no longer an outer sect disciple. 2 days ago, I broke through to the transcending mortality stage in the valley. And today, I'm going to the Tianshu Hall to report and become an inner sect disciple. Lin Fan let out a long laugh as a mental pressure rose from his body. Many outer sect disciples felt their blood freeze. Everyone was shocked by this news. Breaking through to the transcending mortality stage and becoming an inner sect disciple. That was the dream of many outer sect disciples. Lin Fan had finally achieved this goal after fighting for so many years in the outer sect. Everyone came to a realization and congratulated Lin Fan. Zhao Feng also congratulated him with a smile. He had a good impression of Lin Fan, whom he had only met once. Zhao Feng, I believe we will meet again in the inner sect in a few years. Lin Fan had a smile on his face. He had high expectations of Zhao Feng. I hope so. Zhao Feng said humbly. Lin Fan didn't stay for long and soon left the stage, leaving behind many envious outer sect disciples. After Lin Fan left, Zhao Feng was once again the center of attention. If Lin Fan becomes an inner sect disciple, doesn't that mean Zhao Feng will be the first outer sect disciple? Everyone's hearts shook as they looked at Zhao Feng with even more fear and wariness. Especially Hou Yuan, the Hong brothers, Ji Fengyun, and the others, their hearts skipped a beat. After Lin Fan left, Zhao Feng would definitely be the first outer sect disciple. Zhao Feng was also slightly surprised by this result. In today's challenge, he had swept away all the outer sect disciples and won first place. He had defeated 4 substitute inner sect disciples, intimidated second place Jiang Yuyan, and coincidentally, Lin Fan had also become an inner sect disciple. Tang! Zhao Feng leapt up and arrived in front of Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan with a smile on his face. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were so excited that they couldn't even speak properly. They didn't know if they were ashamed, grateful, or happy. Princess Yunmengxiang had a complicated look in her eyes as she sized up this young man who had brought her so many surprises and defeats. For some reason, the more she looked at him, the more she couldn't see through Zhao Feng. After Lin Fan left, one of the 20 substitute inner sect disciples was empty, and the outer sect disciples would have to fight for it again. According to the rules, Zhao Feng's ranking would rise from 3rd place to 2nd place. However, at this time, the second Jiang Yuyan said something to Deacon Qiu. Deacon Qiu nodded his head and called Zhao Feng over. Jiang Yuyan has admitted defeat, and I allow you to be the first substitute inner sect disciple from now on. You will receive the best treatment among the outer sect disciples. Deacon Qiu said with a smile. Admit defeat? Zhao Feng looked at Jiang Yuyan in surprise. Zhao Feng. I'm no match for you now, but it won't be long before I take back the ranking that belongs to me. Jiang Yuyan said coldly before turning around and leaving. Just like that, Zhao Feng became the first substitute inner sect disciple. On the same day, he moved into the new courtyard. The treatment of the first substitute inner sect disciple was far better than the others. For example, Zhao Feng could receive 10 substandard primal crystal stones every month, which was equivalent to the salary of an ordinary inner sect disciple. The resources he received were also better than the other substitute inner sect disciples. Zhao Feng, I heard that the first substitute inner sect disciple can go to the sect to choose a middle-class mortal skill after 3 days, unless someone challenges you. Princess Yunmengxiang came to visit. Middle-class mortal skill. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart moved in surprise and joy. Zhao Feng had a deep understanding of the power of a middle-class mortal skill. In the past, Bei Mua's ripple technique was a middle-class mortal and he completely beat the 5 of them in the sparring. Xiao Sun's blazing sun technique wasn't very good, but it was so powerful that it was comparable to the top 10. But in the clan, middle-class mortal skills weren't open to the outer sect disciples. Usually, only inner sect disciples would have the chance to choose a middle-class mortal skill. Although there was a difference of 1 rank between middle-class mortal and low-class mortal, it was like the difference between clouds and mud. It was even bigger than the difference between each rank of the consolidated realm. If nothing goes wrong, I'll be able to get a middle-class mortal skill in 3 days. Zhao Feng was filled with anticipation. Of course, he wouldn't forget the temptation of the 1,000-leaf pond. That was his goal to reach the ascending realm. Therefore, Zhao Feng spent a lot of time every day studying the 7 books old man Zhang had given him. In terms of cultivation, he mainly focused on silver wall technique, but he would also occasionally study the last stance of the partial wind stance, burning wind stance. Because he had taken 2 marrow cleansing pills, Zhao Feng's body had greatly improved and he felt that his silver wall technique was progressing rapidly. In less than 10 days, Zhao Feng's silver wall technique would reach the peak of the 9th level. When he wasn't cultivating, Zhao Feng would occasionally take care of his 2 senior brothers. In the outer sect, wherever Zhao Feng went, many outer sect disciples would willingly submit and respectfully greet him. Greetings, Brother Zhao. Some outer sect disciples who were older and more experienced than him would greet him respectfully. Now, Zhao Feng had become the #1 outer sect disciple and crushed the entire outer sect under his feet. This goal had come sooner than he had expected. With the protection of Zhao Feng, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan's lives became much more relaxed and their work became much easier. Brother Zhao, no one in the outer sect dares to offend us anymore. Yang Qingshan said with a smile. Nan Gongfan, on the other hand, was slightly worried. Brother Zhao, haven't you gone overboard recently? What if Hai Yun Master notices you? As an outer sect disciple, no matter how strong I am, I won't attract Hai Yun Master's attention unless I become an inner sect disciple one day. Zhao Feng said confidently. He was sure that Hai Yun Master wouldn't notice him, or even know of his existence. This was because he only had a low spiritual body, and even Quan Chen and the other disciples might not be interested in him. In the world of sects, disciples' aptitude was the most important, and strength was secondary, at least in the early stages. No matter how strong a disciple at the consolidated realm was, he was only an ant at the beginning. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. No one had challenged Zhao Feng's position as the #1 outer sect disciple. Jiang Yuyan, who was ranked second, and Ho Yuan, who was ranked third, knew that they wouldn't be able to fight against Zhao Feng in a short period of time. Therefore, Zhao Feng immediately sent an application to the Outer Hall Division for a middle-class mortal skill. This application had to be checked by the Outer Hall Division to see if there was anything fake about it. But Zhao Feng's position as the #1 outer sect disciple was unshakable. His 4 consecutive wins had shocked the entire Outer Hall Division, and even some of the deacons had seen it. More importantly, the Vice Hall Master was the one who allowed him to challenge multiple people at once. Thus, his request was approved without a hitch. This is the Hollow Token, and it can only be used once. With this token, you can enter the sacred ground of the clan, the Hollow Building. Deacon Chiu handed a bronze token to Zhao Feng. Hollow Building? Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. He had heard of the Hollow Building ever since he had entered the clan. The Hollow Building is different from the martial arts buildings in other countries. It's a place of inheritance for the clan. In theory, a normal inner disciple can only enter the Hollow Building once before reaching the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. Deacon Chiu looked deeply at Zhao Feng. Chapter 131. Hearing this, Zhao Feng was overjoyed. He obviously understood what Deacon Chiu meant. In principle, ordinary inner disciples could only enter the Hollow Building once. But Zhao Feng wasn't an inner disciple yet, so he wasn't included in this restriction. In other words, before he even became an inner disciple, he already had a chance to enter the Hollow Tower before the other inner disciples. If Zhao Feng was able to enter the inner disciples, he would have a second chance to enter the Hollow Building. This advantage made Zhao Feng feel that it was unbelievable. This is the rule set by the ancestor of the clan. The first outer disciple has the right to enter. Deacon Chiu smiled faintly. Ancestor? Zhao Feng thought in his heart that the Broken Moon clan's ancestor had at least given some disciples a chance to live. After all, talent was highly valued in the clan, and most outer disciples didn't have high talent. Before this, Sun Yuanhao, who had a changeable body, and Lu Yu, who had a high spiritual body, were chosen by the upper echelons and entered the inner disciples. After saying goodbye to Deacon Chiu, Zhao Feng held the Hollow Building and headed straight for the clan's Hollow Building. The Hollow Building was the forbidden ground of the Broken Moon clan, and even deacons and inner disciples couldn't enter easily. Several miles away, Zhao Feng saw a half-transparent tower on the edge of a cliff. Under the sunlight, it gave off a beautiful glow. Zhao Feng scanned the building with his left eye, and he couldn't see what it was made of, but he was sure that it wasn't normal. There were 2 rows of guards at the entrance of the Hollow Building, and each of them was at least at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. Each of them had a higher cultivation than Lord Guanjuan. This is the clan's forbidden ground, leave immediately. One of the guards yelled, and an invisible mental energy pressure made Zhao Feng's breath stop. The other guards also had disdainful expressions. Looking at what Zhao Feng was wearing, he was only an outer disciple, and his cultivation was only at the 9th consolidated realm. In their eyes, he was no different from an ant. Shua! Zhao Feng silently took out the hollow token. Upon seeing this order, the guard who had just berated them was startled. Please. The guards watched as Zhao Feng entered the Hollow Building, and their expressions changed. I really couldn't tell that this kid is actually the #1 disciple of the outer sect. They were surprised. Entering the hollow building, Zhao Feng felt as though he had entered a different space. The interior of the building was filled with multicolored rays of light. He had been practicing formations recently and he could sense the existence of the formations in the hollow building. The power of the formation was formless and incorporeal, but it had lasted in the building for more than 1,000 years, affecting this small world. Before he could open his left eye to inspect the array in the hollow building, an old voice sounded in his mind, "Hand over your hollow token." Swoosh! The hollowed token in Zhao Feng's hand flew out. Bronze Hollow Order, you can choose a middle-tier mortal cultivation technique. As soon as the voice finished, the power of the array fluctuated and a staircase appeared in front of him. Zhao Feng stepped onto the staircase and entered a misty world. Within the mist, there were countless jade slips. Every single jade slip had a different picture on it, and they described the skill's characteristics and requirements. Dragon Returning Palm. Overlord Fist. No Wind Technique. Blazing Flame Sword. With a sweep of his left eye, hundreds and thousands of skills and descriptions merged into his mind. After a while, Zhao Feng came to a general conclusion. Many skills could be trained to the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm or higher. Normally, reaching the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm was the fate of a middle-class mortal cultivation technique, and the higher ones were at the fifth sky. Low-class mortal cultivation techniques could only be used to reach the Ascended Realm. Middle-class mortal cultivation techniques could be used to reach the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm and a few could reach the True Spirit Realm. High-class mortal cultivation techniques could be used to reach the seventh sky of the Ascended Realm and a few could reach the True Spirit Realm. Peak-class mortal cultivation techniques could be used to reach the True Spirit Realm. Therefore, peak-class mortal cultivation techniques were the true treasures of the Broken Moon clan. As for spiritual class mortal cultivation techniques, they were the ultimate skills of the clan and those below the True Spirit Realm didn't have the right to learn them. You have half an hour to choose a skill. All you need to do is grab the jade slip and merge your consciousness into it to comprehend the skill inside. The old voice seemed to realize that Zhao Feng didn't understand the rules of the hollow building. Yes, senior. Zhao Feng felt weird. Why would the old voice appear in his mind? In the mortal world, normal voice transmissions would only ring in the ears. But thinking that this was a clan, nothing could be measured by normal logic, so he understood. Soon. Zhao Feng scanned through the thousands of skills floating in the mist with his left eye and memorized their characteristics. This was all thanks to the mysterious left eye. Other disciples wouldn't be able to read through thousands of skills in such a short amount of time. After looking through it once, Zhao Feng quickly eliminated some of the skills that restricted cultivation. For example, he needed to be at least at the Ascended Realm to cultivate them. Then, after some analysis, he selected some techniques that were more powerful and profound. This way, Zhao Feng had 1 to 200 high-quality skills that suited him appear in his mind. These exquisite cultivation techniques were probably not bad among the middle-rank mortal ones. Unfortunately, Zhao Feng could only choose one. After thinking for a long time, Zhao Feng decided to choose a skill that specialized in offense. Returning Dragon Palm. The palm is like the roar of a dragon and can shatter mountains. At the high level, the shadow of a dragon can appear and threaten those of the same rank. High requirement for true force. 7 Fingers of Destruction, split into 7 levels and 7 profound skills. Extremely powerful single-target attacks. High requirements for true force control and concentration. Blazing Flame Sword, the sword is as fierce as fire. At the high level, every sword strike can summon fire and those under the fourth sky of the Ascended Realm will be invincible. The offensive skills that Zhao Feng had his eyes on were all extremely powerful and the power they could produce exceeded the power of nature. For example, the Raging Flame Sword, the sword technique could attract the brilliance of raging flames. How could this be something that a human could do? Of course, Zhao Feng didn't consider using other weapons. His left eye was more suitable for arrows and was invincible at long range. He tried not to choose weapons in close combat as there was a limit to relying on external items. If the weapon broke, his strength would be greatly reduced. Furthermore, at the Ascended Realm, long-range attacks were common and the advantage of weapons wasn't that obvious. After looking at it for a long time, a different skill finally appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Thunder Wind Palm. The palm technique has the power of wind and thunder, using the wind to attract the power of thunder. When the palm technique reaches completion, it can almost attract the power of thunder and lightning. However, because the technique is incomplete, almost no one has reached completion. There are records that those who reach the high level of this skill will be turned to dust by lightning. Practice carefully. The last note seemed to have been added later and the handwriting was newer. Lightning Wind Palm, I choose you. Zhao Feng just had to choose a dangerous skill. After practicing Star Finger, Zhao Feng understood that the more dangerous a skill was, the more powerful it would be. Lightning Wind Palm was the same and the disciples of the Broken Moon clan definitely wouldn't dare to practice it. Furthermore, no one was willing to bet the precious opportunity to enter the hollow building on a technique with unknown risks. But Zhao Feng dared. Firstly, he had one more chance to enter the hollow building compared to other inner disciples. Secondly, a cultivation technique that others did not dare to cultivate or were unable to cultivate further proved how powerful this cultivation technique was. Zhao Feng had read some books in the clan world and those legendary figures were those who could do what others couldn't and stood at the top of the pyramid. If Zhao Feng chose a skill that others could easily cultivate, how would he be any different from those mediocre cultivators? Are you sure you want Lightning Wind Palm? Let me remind you that this skill is extremely dangerous and the difficulty of practicing it is even higher than some high-class mortal skills. The old voice sounded. I'm sure. Zhao Feng said decisively. Such a decisive tone made the old voice pause. This was the first time he had seen someone choose such a dangerous skill so decisively. These people could only be described as arrogant. There are usually two results when practicing the Lightning Wind Palm. The first result is that most people won't be able to reach the max level and their meridians will break or they will be paralyzed. The second result is that a genius with high comprehension will be struck to death by lightning. It's the latter that's the most regrettable. The old voice lightly laughed and didn't say anything else. The two results were either not being able to reach the max level or being struck to death by lightning. If it was anyone else, they would feel fear and at the very least, have to weigh their options. However, Zhao Feng ignored the old voice and grabbed the jade slip containing the Lightning Wind Palm and merged his consciousness into it. Buzz, the jade slip lit up and Zhao Feng's consciousness entered a world filled with wind and lightning. It was a scene of a person performing a palm skill in the sky filled with wind and lightning. The might of this palm technique grew stronger and stronger. In the end, it actually resonated with wind and thunder, drawing upon the might of thunder and lightning, directly flattening a small mountain. Such power! Zhao Feng's left eye subconsciously absorbed this scene into his mind. Immediately after, the contents of the Lightning Wind Palm skill appeared from the jade slip and slowly entered Zhao Feng's mind. In the mist where the jade pendant was, there was a strange spell formation's power that carried a piece of memory information onto the jade pendant. Normal people could only comprehend the scene of the person practicing the palm skill once. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, absorbed it into the dimension of his left eye so that he could comprehend it more in the future. The contents of the Lightning Wind Palm skill slowly entered the mind of the cultivator under the power of the array. Zhao Feng immediately memorized it and in the remaining time, he used his left eye to inspect the mist and the jade slips floating in the building. The mist that he was in had been enveloped by a powerful array that had lasted for thousands of years. Zhao Feng wondered if he could break this array or if he could find any flaws in it. He opened his left eye and an azure glow appeared in his left eye to inspect the array around him. Under the super interface of his left eye, lines and patterns appeared around the mist, forming a three-dimensional structure. Copy. Zhao Feng opened his left eye and absorbed the structure of the array in the hollow building into the dimension of his left eye. I'll take this structure back and study it. Zhao Feng had his own plans. After a while, the jade slips in front of Zhao Feng dimmed and all the jade slips in the mist started to lose their light. Just like that, Zhao Feng left the hollow building with the information of the lightning wind palm skill and the structure of the array. Before he left, he heard an old voice reminding him, the skills of the hollow building have been passed down for a long time and cannot be taught to outsiders. Otherwise, your cultivation will be crippled. Remember this. Chapter 132. Zhao Feng ignored the voice and left the hollow building. Not long after he left, a slightly angry laughter came from a hidden pavilion in the hollow building. What an arrogant brat, how dare he ignore this seat's words. Ever since he entered the hollow building, Zhao Feng didn't pay much attention to the old voice. As for the warning, he didn't put them to heart and just did what he wanted to do. From Zhao Feng's point of view, the voice was just a procedure and he just needed to follow the instructions. His thoughts weren't wrong, but he didn't know that behind the voice was an important figure of the clan. Even inner disciples had to be respectful when they entered the hollow building. First elder, he's just an outer disciple and he's ignorant. Why bother with him? An old man with wrinkles all over his face laughed in a hidden building. He was the elder in charge of the hollow building. But today, first elder noticed that Zhao Feng had used a forbidden skill, so he tried to warn him, but the latter didn't listen to him. Outer disciple. If I remember correctly, only the top outer disciple has the right to enter the hollow building. First elder's voice was slightly surprised. This rule was set by the founder of the clan and it had been passed down to this day. First elder also knew that there was a reason for this rule. On the path of cultivation, those with good talent would have a bright future. Therefore, the talent of those who entered the clan was extremely important. But talent wasn't the only factor. The founder's rule was to make up for this oversight. After returning to the courtyard, Zhao Feng started to comprehend the lightning wind palm in his mind. The lightning wind palm was an offensive skill and it focused on intent. Although it wasn't a main skill, it could be used by those at the sixth sky of the ascended realm and above. Just based on this point alone, it surpassed other middle-class mortal skills. Zhao Feng looked at the description of this skill and it belonged to the ancient incomplete art. The grades of the ancient cultivation techniques might be different from the grades of the current cultivation techniques. The old voice had said that the difficulty of the lightning wind palm was even greater than some high-class mortal skills. Therefore, according to Zhao Feng's analysis, the grade of this palm technique might not be as simple as mortal intermediate tier. Closing his eyes, Zhao Feng began to comprehend the scene in the dimension of his left eye. A tiny figure was practicing a palm technique under the sky filled with wind and lightning, causing the wind, clouds, lightning, and lightning to gather. Its power became stronger and stronger until it resonated with the wind and lightning, like a celestial being. Amazing! Every time Zhao Feng comprehended it, he would be deeply moved. Combined with the lightning wind palm's mental cultivation method, Zhao Feng's comprehension could almost touch the concept and principles of the martial art. Thunder wind palm is divided into 6 levels. Level 1, Initiate, comprehend wind force. The second level, Basic mastery. The palm technique has the power of wind and thunder, and it is beginning to take shape. The third level was at the low level. The wind created by his palms would cause thunder to rumble and his power would increase greatly. Under the fourth sky of the ascended realm, it would be hard for him to find a match. The fourth level, High mastery. The palm technique can cause lightning to rumble and it can paralyze the opponent, making it hard for them to move. The fifth level, Peak. Using the wind to summon lightning, the palm technique can create lightning arcs, causing the sound of thunder to rumble. The sixth level, Peak. Dance of wind and lightning. Under stormy weather, there is a chance to summon lightning from the 9 heavens. Once successful, one can instantly kill anyone under the true spirit realm, and even those at the true spirit realm would have to avoid it. The sixth level seemed to correspond to the sixth sky of the ascended realm, but there was a chance to summon lightning from the 9 heavens, allowing one's strength to increase by 10 times. The sixth level is too crazy. Once it summons lightning from the 9 heavens, it can instantly kill anyone under the true spirit realm. Even those at the true spirit realm would have to avoid it. Zhao Feng's heart trembled. After touching this skill, he was sure that the lightning wind palm wasn't a middle-class mortal skill. Of course, although the sixth level was monstrous and the power increased by 10 times, it was also extremely dangerous. If one wasn't careful, the 9 heavens lightning could turn the cultivator into dust. The person who created this cultivation method was simply a lunatic. Those who cultivated it were also crazy. However, since Zhao Feng had chosen it, he didn't regret it and he started to cultivate. The first level was to comprehend the power of the wind. The essence of the lightning wind palm was to cultivate the power of the wind and summon lightning from the wind. Wind was the foundation. In regards to this, Zhao Feng had a certain level of foundation. The first 3 stances of the 4 wind stances, flowing wind stance, tornado stance and partial wind stance, were all pure wind intent. The 4th stance, burning wind stance, used wind to create fire, raising its destructive power to a whole new level. With the foundation of the 4 wind stances, Zhao Feng didn't need any effort to cultivate the first level of the lightning wind palm. In just half a day's time, Zhao Feng's lightning wind palm had reached the first level and he started to cultivate it to the second level. Zhe, looks like I made the right choice. This skill suits me. Zhao Feng didn't think that it would go so smoothly. According to what the old voice said, the difficulty of the lightning wind palm was even higher than a high-class mortal skill. For an average person to cultivate the first level and comprehend the concept of wind force, it would take at least 1 or 2 months, and at most several years. This depended on one's perception. However, Zhao Feng had the foundation of the 4 wind stances and his learning ability was shocking, so he easily completed it. As for the second level, Zhao Feng felt a bit of resistance and difficulty. The second level had the power of wind and lightning. Zhao Feng had a deep understanding of wind, but he didn't have any foundation in lightning. He couldn't help but close his eyes to comprehend the scene in the dimension of his left eye. The scene of wind and lightning, the power of the palm. With this scene, Zhao Feng was able to comprehend the second level smoothly. Around 2 days later, Zhao Feng had basically mastered the second level of the lightning wind palm. It wasn't realistic for him to comprehend the third level in a short amount of time. He spent the rest of his time studying the 7 books that old man Zhang gave him. Of the 7 books, there was only 1 left. The last book was the most difficult and Zhao Feng had to combine the illusion fish picture to understand its essence. Finally, on this day, Zhao Feng had comprehended all 7 books. At the very least, he had learned the basics. At this moment, he found that the 7-day promise with old man Zhang had arrived. So close. Zhao Feng let out a long breath. Because he had to train the lightning wind palm, the 7-day promise with old man Zhang almost went down the drain. Right now, the most important thing for Zhao Feng was to reach the ascended realm with his body. Zhao Feng sprinted all the way to the clan mission division and saw old man Zhang. You've learned all 7 books. Old man Zhang smiled and asked. Yes. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. Next, old man Zhang asked 15 questions. For each book, he asked 2 questions, 1 deep and 1 shallow. The last question had to combine all the content of the 7 books, so Zhao Feng circulated his left eye and thought for a long time before he answered. After Zhao Feng answered, old man Zhang let out a long sigh. His face was filled with defeat as he stared at Zhao Feng as if he was looking at a monster. You've really never come into contact with arrays before? Old man Zhang asked unwillingly. Does the illusion fish picture count? Zhao Feng chuckled. Old man Guan had asked similar questions before. Old Zhang's face twitched. In the past, he was also a genius with an eidetic memory, and had made a name for himself in the 13 Clans Alliance with his achievements in the art of formations. But compared to Zhao Feng's talent in arrays, he felt like he was worse than dog shit. You've learnt the basics of arrays and you even have a deeper theory. From today onwards, go to the clan mission division and help maintain the arrays of the clan, including the energy gathering array, the 1,000-leaf pond. Old man Zhang said expressionlessly. On the same day, Zhao Feng started to practice arrays. There were many arrays in the Broken Moon clan, big and small, that covered the entire clan. With the passage of time, the power of these formations would weaken, or flaws would appear, and they would require maintenance and repair. Zhao Feng followed Old Man Zhang or the other deacons of the clan mission division to check out the arrays. So the fog I saw outside the mountain gate that day was caused by the power of the sex formation. The reason why the mysterious floating crest palace floated in the air and danced with the wind, rain, lightning was because of an even more powerful ancient array. Zhao Feng had a lot of understanding. There were many miracles in the world of clans that were created by support professions such as pill masters, array masters and mechanism masters. On this day, Zhao Feng received Old Man Zhang's order to inspect the 1,000-leaf pond. Being a subordinate of the clan mission division and Old Man Zhang's assistant, Zhao Feng was here to find the flaws in the energy gathering array. If there weren't any problems, Zhao Feng could enter the 1,000-leaf pond today and use the liquid within to increase his silver wall technique. Thinking about how his silver wall technique had reached the peak 9th level, Zhao Feng couldn't help but be moved. His left eye became sharp and a layer of azure light shot through the array. When he saw the green water within the 1,000-leaf pond, he instinctively swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Zhao Feng didn't make any rash moves. First, he had to inspect the energy gathering array to see if there were any flaws. This energy gathering array was huge and it had been set up by several experts at the True Spirit Realm and many array masters. However, Zhao Feng had already memorized the diagram and adding on his eyesight, he could easily complete the task that should have required several array masters. Over the past few days, Zhao Feng had found many flaws in the array and received praise from Old Man Zhang. There's a total of 2 flaws and 13 weak points. Zhao Feng nodded his head and memorized it. He would report it to Old Man Zhang when he returned. In the time it took to make a cup of tea, he had completed the task. Then, Zhao Feng licked his lips and took out his token, preparing to open the array and enter the 1,000-leaf pond. However, thinking about it, using the token to open the 1,000-leaf pond was too big of an action. As an outer disciple, he didn't have the right to enter the 1,000-leaf pond. Zhao Feng decided to be low-key and his figure flashed as he snuck into the 1,000-leaf pond from a flaw in the array. Woo! Zhao Feng's body was submerged in the pond water and he could feel a strange, cold power within the green pond water that spread throughout his body. He closed his eyes and immersed himself in the water. Pine! 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 Zhao Feng felt his left eye twitch and the weird cold power was being absorbed by his body, cleansing his body. And, although the effect isn't as strong as the marrow cleansing pill, it can last for a long time. Zhao Feng felt that his body was being nourished by the water and became more resilient. Unknowingly, he had almost fallen asleep in the water and entered the fake death state of the deadwood breathing technique. Under this state, his body didn't relax at all and the absorption rate of the energy in the water increased. Chapter 133. The Broken Moon Clan. Amongst the clouds, one could faintly see an azure-green building surrounded by all sorts of plants and flowers. Occasionally, there would be flocks of birds flying over. Go, go. Quan Chen's expression was dark as he waved his hand and chased the birds away. He wasn't in a good mood these past few days. Ever since Zhao Feng had dominated the outer disciples, it had become troublesome for him to deal with Lord Guanzhuan's disciples. In terms of strength, Zhao Feng was unrivaled amongst the outer disciples. In terms of support, Zhao Feng had received the favor of 2 vice heads and he couldn't interfere. If he couldn't even deal with a few new outer disciples, he would lose face in front of his peers. This wasn't the first time that second brother and first brother had laughed at him. Stepping on the stone path and entering the azure jade pavilion, Quan Chen calmed his emotions and became cautious. Brother Quan, elder, has come out of seclusion and is admiring the flowers. In front of the garden, a guard said with a smile. Quan Chen nodded his head and took a deep breath before entering the garden. Inside the garden, hundreds of flowers were blooming and the fragrance was pleasant to the nose. In the middle of the flowers stood a handsome man who looked to be in his 20s. Who would have thought that the man in front of him was the youngest elder of the Broken Moon clan, Hai Yun Master. Those at the True Spirit realm had a lifespan of 200 to 300 years. Hai Yun Master had reached the True Spirit realm a long time ago and he was good at taking care of his health. Although he was the same age as Lord Guanjuan, he had the youthful looks of a young man. Hai Yun Master was dressed in white and he stood with his hands behind his back. Quan Chen knew that his master was a clean freak and he walked carefully, keeping a distance of 1 yard between them. Master, I need to report the situation of Su Ran and the other disciples to you. Quan Chen said respectfully. Su Ran. Do you think you need to report such a small matter to me? Although Hai Yun Master's voice was gentle, it contained a coldness as if he was looking down on an ant. Quan Chen instantly became uneasy. It's all my fault. I can't even take care of a few outer disciples. After saying this, he didn't dare to say anything else. His master didn't even put Lord Guanjuan's disciples in his eyes and if he brought it up, it would only make his master unhappy. Speak. Hai Yun Master frowned. Of Su Ran's 3 remaining disciples, Yang Qingshan has a middle-rank spiritual physique, Nan Gongfan has a lower-rank spiritual physique, and there's also Zhao Feng. Although he only has a lower-rank spiritual physique, he's extremely difficult to deal with. Quan Chen first mentioned it briefly before focusing on Zhao Feng. In the beginning, Hai Yun Master was indifferent, but when Quan Chen mentioned that Zhao Feng was favored by 2 vice hall leaders, his expression changed. As for Zhao Feng's identity as the top outer disciple, Hai Yun Master didn't care. After hearing this, Hai Yun Master smiled. Haha, Zhao Feng's talent in pill refining and arrays is a good thing for the Broken Moon clan. Ah! Quan Chen was stunned. But on second thought, alchemy and formations were considered auxiliary cultivation paths in the world of sections. Generally, they did not have much combat power. Especially Zhao Feng, who had a lower-rank spiritual physique, it was destined that he wouldn't be able to go far in cultivation. You don't need to worry about this for now. I have my own plans. In a few months, the Floating Crest trial of the Broken Moon clan would begin. You missed the chance last time, so this time, you must grasp it well. Hai Yun Master said. Yes. Quan Chen's heart jumped. The Floating Crest trial was a chance for the disciples of the Broken Moon clan to change their fate. The trial this time was related to the most mysterious, Floating Crest Palace, of the clan. Those who had passed the trial in the past had all obtained great fortunes. Compared to the Floating Crest trial, the matter regarding Lord Guanjuan's disciples was nothing. Full of fighting spirit, Quan Chen heard his master's voice as he left the garden, "Tell Bei-moi, Bei-moi." Quan Chen's heart moved as he couldn't help but feel jealous and helpless. Ever since Bei-moi had joined the sect, the master had put more resources and effort into him, and the other disciples had been neglected. Broken Moon Clan, 1,000 Leaf Pond. Zhao Feng completely relaxed as he sunk into the pond. Even his breathing was similar to that of a baby. His left eye twitched as a strange bloodline power spread throughout his body and intertwined with the cool energy in the pond. In the past few days, Zhao Feng had taken the marrow cleansing pill and his body had changed. His silver wall technique had reached the peak 9th level. At this point in time, his body strengthening skills were on par with Ho Yuan's. But Zhao Feng's goal wasn't limited to this. In terms of body-refining attainments, if one wanted to transcend mortality and become a sage, one would need a powerful driving force. In the thousand-leaf pond, his body had absorbed a strange energy, and all the flesh and bones in his body had undergone a certain transformation. Zhao Feng also found that after absorbing the energy from the pond, the returning origin inner strength in his dantian became stronger and more condensed. It looks like the thousand-leaf pond can not only improve the body, it can also improve inner strength and true force. Zhao Feng thought in his heart. Inner strength was the power of the consolidated realm. True force was the power of the ascended realm, and it was 10 times stronger than normal inner strength. As long as Zhao Feng's silver wall technique reached the 10th level, he would be able to condense silver air true force. Time flew by quickly and an entire day had passed. Zhao Feng felt that his body had grown unknowingly, and it was even stronger than a marrow cleansing pill. Although the marrow cleansing pill was strong, it didn't last as long and it wasn't as magical as the water in the thousand-leaf pond. When night fell, Zhao Feng found that the yuan gathering array around the thousand-leaf pond started to change under the moonlight, causing a layer of moonlight to appear on the surface of the pond. The element of the mysterious power in the thousand-leaf pond also started to change. This yuan gathering array is indeed magical. I should be able to set up a simple one when I enter the inner clan in the future. Zhao Feng thought in his heart. Of course, the yuan gathering array was only an auxiliary part of the thousand-leaf pond. The true reason was that the pond was surrounded by a natural array, and after countless years, the pond had absorbed the essence of heaven and earth, causing a magical change. At night, the energy in the thousand-leaf pond started to change and it had a greater effect on his body. Zhao Feng maintained his fake death state and sank into the pond. He estimated that his silver wall technique should reach the 10th level if he soaked in the thousand-leaf pond a few more times. At this moment, a strange sound came from the vicinity of the thousand-leaf pond's formation. It was extremely soft. Whoosh! 2 slender figures entered the thousand-leaf pond through a gap in the formation. This flaw in the array happened to be one that Zhao Feng had used earlier. Senior Sister Yuan, will we be discovered? One of the timid female voices was clear and sweet. Hee, this flaw was told to me by the senior brother from the sect administration division. Furthermore, the thousand-leaf pond isn't open to the public today. The other clear and melodious voice of a woman chuckled softly. The one who spoke was slightly older, in her early 20s. She was tall and had snow-white skin. The girl beside her was slightly smaller, around the age of 16. Her eyes were bright and her face was as delicate as porcelain, but there was a hint of timidity and immaturity in her. The 2 beauties entered the thousand-leaf pond and looked around. The entire thousand-leaf pond was empty. There was not a single ripple, and there was not a single person. I told you, there's no one here. Senior Sister Yuan said with a smug expression. The beautiful girl nodded slightly, but she was still a little uneasy. Maybe she didn't want to do something sneaky like this. After confirming that there was no one nearby, the 2 girls took off their clothes and revealed their beautiful bodies. They hid in the pond and started to take a bath, but they didn't dare to go too far. At the same time, Zhao Feng, who was hiding in the pond, felt a slight movement. Because it was protected by the array, the water in the thousand-leaf pond was usually dead. But at this moment, there was a ripple in the pond, as if there was an outsider. Zhao Feng recovered from his fake death state and looked in that direction with his left eye. Even in the water, his left eye could still see through things from tens of feet away. The following scene caused Zhao Feng's face to turn red and his heartbeat to speed up. After all, he was only a 14 or 15-year-old youth, and he had no experience in this area. Whoosh! Zhao Feng was careless and choked on the water, causing him to float to the surface. Who's there? Senior Apprentice Sister Yuan let out a delicate shout and slapped her jade-like hands. Waves of water surged and soared more than 10 meters high, covering the entire area. Whoosh! 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 Two beautiful figures returned to the shore under the cover of the waves. When the waves subsided, Zhao Feng saw the two female disciples on the shore. One was tall and beautiful, while the other was pure and beautiful, with a blush on her face. No matter where they were, their looks would be on par with the top beauties of Sun Feather City. But the aura they gave off was even better. What kind of pervert is this? How dare you do such a shameless thing? Senior Sister Yuan barely used her clothes to cover her body as she stared coldly at Zhao Feng. Boom! A powerful mental energy pressure pressed down on Zhao Feng like a mountain, making it hard for him to breathe. This girl's cultivation was even more terrifying than Quan Chen, who was at the third sky of the Ascended Realm. The other beautiful young woman hid behind Senior Martial Sister Yuan, her expression one of anger and embarrassment. She was also hostile. Senior sisters, don't misunderstand. I just happened to be cultivating here. Zhao Feng's face went red and his voice became hurried. This matter had caught him off guard. Senior Sister Yuan was slightly surprised. The youth in front of her was only 14 or 15 years old and had an innocent face. He didn't look like a pervert at all. Turn around and close your eyes. Senior Sister Yuan ordered coldly. Under the powerful mental energy pressure, Zhao Feng soon calmed down and the red on his face disappeared. He obediently turned around and closed his eyes. He obviously knew that in front of these two girls, he couldn't resist at all. With his back turned, Zhao Feng could hear the sounds of the two tidying up their clothes. Turn around. Senior Sister Yuan stood at the edge of the pond, her voice still cold. Zhao Feng's face was expressionless as he turned around. Only then did he see the faces of the two girls and he found them pleasing to the eye. Senior Sister Yuan stood in front and behind her was a shy girl who hid behind her, revealing half of her face. Humph. You're so young and you're peeking at girls bathing. If you don't give me an explanation today, you'll suffer. Senior Sister Yuan's face was filled with killing intent and she decided to scare this youth first. But she realized that the youth's expression was weird as he stared at her dumbly. Senior Sister Yuan was even angrier. How could he be so lustful at such a young age? However, she soon realized that the person Zhao Feng was looking at wasn't her, but Junior Sister Yuan. It's you, Zhao Feng exclaimed as he stared at the bashful and pure girl behind her. Chapter 134. It's you, Zhao Feng exclaimed in shock and stared at the shy girl behind Senior Sister Yuan. His expression was exaggerated and his eyes were fixed on her. He was shocked and looked dull, as if the girl he had been waiting for countless days and nights had finally shown up. In Senior Sister Yuan's eyes, Zhao Feng's expression was lustful. She was even more annoyed. It turns out that the person this guy likes is not me, but the junior sister behind me. At this moment, waves appeared in Zhao Feng's heart, but he was more overjoyed. The girl behind Sister Yuan was so familiar. Once upon a time, that beautiful figure had appeared in his mind thousands of times, just to comprehend the mystic wind palm. It turned out that the beautiful girl was the young girl who had appeared in the Blood Python Canyon that day. A person's figure and appearance had appeared thousands of times in his mind. One day, he finally met her face to face. This kind of surprise and shock was indescribable. Even Zhao Feng couldn't help but lose his composure. Junior Sister Ran, do you know him? Senior Sister Yuan looked at the girl behind her with a hint of doubt in her eyes. She was excited to find out some gossip. Did Junior Sister Ran collude with another man under my nose? How could I not know such gossip as my closest friend? I don't know him. Junior Martial Sister Ran's face went red and her eyes were filled with shyness. She seriously looked at Zhao Feng and shook her head. Seeing her innocent and aggrieved look, Senior Sister Yuan quickly confirmed that Junior Sister Ran didn't know Zhao Feng. That was because she knew that junior sister Ran was innocent and flawless. She wouldn't lie and would never lie to her. Besides, judging from Zhao Feng's cultivation level, he should be an outer disciple and had nothing to do with an inner disciple. Boy! Don't flatter yourself. You must have a crush on junior sister Ran, but your shameless behavior can't be forgiven. Senior sister Yuan began to preach righteously. However, when she saw that Zhao Feng's eyes were gradually dimming and he seemed to be disappointed, she felt sorry for him. Every woman had an innate maternal love. Zhao Feng was only 14 years old, much younger than her. His cultivation level was also very low, so senior martial sister Yuan only treated him as a naughty kid. Otherwise, if it was any other man, he might have already suffered inhumane torture. Zhao Feng regained his composure. He knew that it was impossible for the other party to recognize him. But deep down in his heart, he still couldn't suppress the pleasant surprise. Back then in the Blood Python Canyon, when he saw the three youthful girls, how shocked he was, and how he yearned for the vast unknown world. Now that he had entered the world of sex and met the mysterious girl in his mind, his heart was filled with excitement. May I know your name? Zhao Feng couldn't help but want to know junior sister Ran's name, so he ignored senior sister Yuan. Senior sister Yuan was even more annoyed, but she suddenly discovered that the youth in front of her had become calm and steady, as if he had suddenly grown several years older. Because this calmness and steadiness was definitely not the temperament that a youth of the same age possessed. Junior sister Ran blushed. Just as she was about to speak, she was stopped by senior sister Yuan. Junior sister Ran, this kid doesn't have any good intentions towards you. His shameless behavior of hiding in the thousand-leaf pond just now is obvious. Senior sister Yuan pulled junior sister Ran to the side and faced Zhao Feng coldly. Seeing that Zhao Feng had repeatedly ignored her, senior sister Yuan decided to teach him a lesson. However, before she could speak, Zhao Feng's gaze was sharp as he said coldly, "Senior sister, I remember that the thousand-leaf pond isn't open to the public today. How did you sneak in? If you don't give me a way out, I'll report this to the Sect Affairs Division." Hearing that, the two women's expressions changed slightly. Junior sister Ran, in particular, instantly became uneasy. The thousand-leaf pond was an important place in the sect. Without the permission of the sect, even inner disciples couldn't enter easily. Then how did you get in? Although senior sister Yuan was in the wrong, her attitude was still firm. Swish! Zhao Feng took out a token and stared at the Yuan world with a sharp gaze. Sect Affairs Token. Senior sister Yuan's expression changed. Under the scrutinizing gaze of the youth, she finally felt guilty. She faintly sensed that the youth in front of her had an unusual identity. Otherwise, how could he have the Sect Affairs Token and enter the thousand-leaf pond? I was asked by the vice-head of the Sect Affairs Division, Elder Zhang, to come to the thousand-leaf pond to inspect. I just happened to find a few flaws and weak points in the array. However, I didn't expect someone to sneak into the thousand-leaf pond today. How should you be punished? At the end of his sentence, Zhao Feng's tone was stern. Under the activation of his left eye, his eyes became sharp and seemed to have a penetrating power. It was as if he could see through all the secrets of the other party. Senior sister Yuan was stunned. The two women looked at each other and both felt guilty. Zhao Feng had a good reason to enter the thousand-leaf lake. On the other hand, the two of them had used the flaws in the array to sneak into the thousand-leaf lake. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng took the initiative and became the interrogator instead of being called a lecher. The Sect Affairs Token in his hand only needed to be taken out to activate the array of the thousand-leaf pond and alert the members of the Sect Affairs Division nearby. Then what about you hiding in the thousand-leaf pond and spying on us? How could senior sister Yuan admit defeat? With her status and reputation among the inner disciples, there was no way she would lose to an outer disciple. Spying. Who was the first to arrive? Zhao Feng's eyes were sharp as he smiled. At this moment, he was no longer the innocent youth from before. Senior Sister Yuan was speechless. Indeed, Zhao Feng had arrived much earlier than them. Furthermore, the two of them were inner disciples and didn't tell anyone that they had sneaked in. Senior brother Zhao, it's our fault. Please don't blame us. Junior Sister Rant's eyes were red and misty as she begged. Seeing her innocent and pitiful appearance, Zhao Feng didn't continue to make things difficult for her. At this moment, Senior Sister Yuan also remained silent. Perhaps she knew that her weakness was in the hands of the other party. Fine, for Junior Sister Rant's sake, I won't pursue this matter. Zhao Feng silently took back the token. Senior Sister Yuan instantly revealed a knowing expression. Kid, you're smart. However, an outer disciple like you is far from enough to pursue Junior Sister Ran. Junior Sister Ran's pretty face was as red as blood. She lowered her head and only secretly glanced at him without saying anything. Hurry up and leave. If the other deacons of the administration division find out, I won't be able to protect you. Zhao Feng's face was expressionless as he soaked in the 1,000-leaf pond again. Seeing his reaction, Senior Sister Yuan was a little disappointed. Thinking about it, she couldn't help but sympathize with Zhao Feng. He was only a lowly outer disciple and might never be able to enter the inner disciples in his lifetime. Junior Sister Ran had never seen him before, which meant that this young man was only a one-sided crush. Junior Sister, let's go. Senior Sister Yuan sighed. She held Junior Sister Rant's little hand and floated out of the array. Seeing the two girls leave, Zhao Feng let out a breath as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. With Senior Sister Yuan's strength, it would be easy for her to teach him a lesson. Even Lord Guanjuan might not be able to take one blow from her. When the two girls left the array, a soft and timid voice sounded, I'm Ran Xiaoyuan, thank you. Zhao Feng was dazed as he saw an innocent face turn around and smile shyly before quickly avoiding his gaze. Ran Xiaoyuan. What a nice name. But Zhao Feng murmured, I should be the one thanking you. In the dimension of his left eye, the mysterious wind palm had helped Zhao Feng many times. Through practice, Zhao Feng had memorized the appearance of the girl and had wanted to thank her many times. Now that he saw Ran Xiaoyuan, Zhao Feng felt guilty, as if he owed her a favor. After the two girls left, Zhao Feng's body sank back into the 1,000-leaf pond and he started to cultivate silver wall technique, absorbing the mysterious power within the pond. Zhao Feng only left late at night and he handed the information about the Yuan gathering array to the clan mission division. Back at his living quarters, Zhao Feng once again cultivated. On the morning of the second day, Zhao Feng found that his silver wall technique was only half a step away from reaching the 10th level. His body was now at the half-step ascended realm. With just his body alone, he could suppress those at the half-step ascended realm. With my current strength, I should be able to challenge those at the first sky of the ascended realm. Zhao Feng smiled. However, it wasn't easy to break through the 10th level of the silver wall technique. Luckily, Zhao Feng wasn't in a rush. From what he could see, he should be able to enter the inner disciples in half a month's time. Before he entered the inner disciples, he wanted to accumulate more strength in the outer disciples. If I enter the inner disciples, I'll be facing Quan Chen and the other inner disciples and Hai Yun Master will be able to see me. Zhao Feng thought. If that was the case, then he didn't need to rush into the inner disciples. Instead, he should use his current advantage to accumulate more strength. Calculating the time, Zhao Feng realized that he had already passed the 10 days limit. Due to the fight between Elder Zhang and Elder Guan, Zhao Feng stayed at the Grasswood Division and the Clan Mission Division for 10 days. Zhao Feng had already done this. Right now, it was up to Elder Zhang and Elder Guan to decide who was stronger. The weird thing was that in the next few days, Elder Guan and Elder Zhang didn't come to find Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng cultivated silver wall technique, comprehended lightning wind palm and went to the 1,000-leaf pond when he had the time. He was trying to increase his strength in all aspects. But a few days later, Zhao Feng received challenges from Xiao Sun and Jiang Yuyan. There was only one chance to challenge a substitute disciple, and once you failed, you wouldn't be able to do it again for half a year. But this was only for normal outer disciples. There was no such restriction for those who were already substitute disciples. Everyone knew that the top outer disciples had great privileges. Especially Xiao Sun, he couldn't wait to enter the hollow building before he became an inner disciple. In reality, with his talent that was close to a superior spiritual body and the Xiao family's background, he could easily enter the inner disciples like Lu Yu, and Sun Yuanhao. One of the reasons why he stayed was to become the top outer disciple. Xiao Sun's cultivation had reached the peak of the half-step ascended realm, and if he wasn't careful, he could break through to the ascended realm. 3 days later, Zhao Feng accepted Xiao Sun and Jiang Yuyan's challenge. Xiao Sun was ranked 4th in his middle-class mortal skill. Blazing Sun manual had improved and he couldn't wait to challenge Zhao Feng. However, the result was the same. Zhao Feng didn't even use his newly learned lightning wind palm. He used star finger and 4-wind stance to easily win with silver wall technique. Jiang Yuyan didn't fare much better as she lost to Zhao Feng within 10 moves. His current strength isn't any weaker than the top outer disciple Lin Fan. Jiang Yuyan gave up. Zhao Feng's position as the top outer disciple was unshakable. Chapter 135. After Xiao Sun and Jiang Yuyan failed, Zhao Feng felt lonely in the outer sect. Right now, he could feel that his silver wall technique was very close to the 10th level. It would take him at least 5 to 6 days to half a month to make the breakthrough. In the dimension of his left eye, the faint azure light had also extended to 9 feet 9 and it seemed to have reached its limit. Zhao Feng didn't know what would happen to his mysterious left eye after it reached 9 feet 9. After the challenge, before Zhao Feng could relax for half a day, 2 uninvited guests came to his residence. Old Guan, Old Zhang, why are you both here? Zhao Feng was surprised. 2 vice hall masters had come to his residence at the same time. He hurriedly welcomed the 2 elders to their seats, muttering in his heart that he didn't know if the winner of the 2 elders had been decided. Unexpectedly, Old Zhang and Old Guan were quiet. They didn't argue with each other, they just stared at Zhao Feng with regret and sighed. What's wrong? Zhao Feng felt that something was wrong. Logically speaking, Elder Zhang and Elder Guan wouldn't give up on him so easily with his talent. Zhao Feng, we've already discussed the matter of becoming his disciple and have come to a decision. Old Guan said in a serious tone. Made a decision? Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. To be honest, although he was interested in alchemy and arrays, it wasn't the path he wanted to pursue. Old Zhang coughed and said, it's like this. After some discussion, we feel that it's a waste for you to be our disciple. Ah! Zhao Feng looked at the 2 elders in disbelief. Master Zhang and Master Guan looked at each other and smiled. They both let out a sigh of relief. Zhao Feng, maybe you'll be surprised, but this is the truth. Ever since I started cultivating, I've never seen such a talented alchemist like you. I can only teach you for 1 or 2 years at most, and that's just a conservative estimate. Old Guan shook his head and sighed. That's right. At our level, we are not qualified to be your teachers. I can recommend you to Gongqing Qingyang, the formation master of the rich Sky Kingdom. If you become his disciple, you will be able to unleash your true potential. Old Zhang felt a little bitter and helpless. After that, Master Guan also recommended a master alchemist from the Iron Dragon country to Zhao Feng. Given the 2 elders' level of attainment, they could only be considered as outstanding apothecaries and formation masters, not true masters. Those who were truly crowned with the title of master, were those who had reached the pinnacle of skill in a certain field. Zhao Feng knew that the Sky-rich Strong Country and the Iron Dragon Strong Country were 10 times stronger than the Cloud Country and their clans were countless times stronger than the Broken Moon clan. Thank you for your kind intentions, but I'm not interested in alchemy, nor in array formations. I'm just a little interested, and I'll study it when I'm free. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and bowed deeply to the two elders. At this moment, he truly revealed his inner thoughts. You called us teachers. Master Guan was excited. Old Zhang also had a happy expression. Although Zhao Feng hadn't officially become their disciple and he wasn't interested in alchemy or array formations, calling them teacher was a form of respect and gratitude towards them. In the future, no matter who Zhao Feng took as his master, no matter how high his achievements were, even if he became a grandmaster, he would still call them teacher. At the very least, they would still be friends. From what the two elders could see, even if Zhao Feng didn't work hard, it wouldn't be hard for him to become a grandmaster in alchemy or array. It wasn't impossible for him to become a grandmaster in both. Therefore, when Zhao Feng called them teacher, they were happy and satisfied. Next, Zhao Feng began to face the continuous persuasion of the two teachers. It could be said that they were doing their best to persuade him. The two elders tried to persuade Zhao Feng to walk on the right path, and it wasn't impossible for him to learn both alchemy and arrays. But in the end, Zhao Feng still rejected them and decided to focus on martial arts. Alchemy and arrays could be studied along the way. If you want to walk on the path of martial arts, then you can't miss the Floating Crest trial in a few months. Old Guan's words suddenly changed. Floating Crest trial. Zhao Feng immediately thought of the mysterious Floating Crest Palace of the Broken Moon clan. His left eye turned and he saw an ancient palace in the sky. It seemed to be from a mythical era. In the Broken Moon clan, the Floating Crest trial is held once every 5 years. For the disciples of the clan, it is a great fortune and a turning point in their lives. If you can't enter the inner disciples or participate in the Floating Crest trial, then it means that you don't have enough fortune on the path of martial arts. Old Zhang smiled. Zhao Feng couldn't help but think about the words of the two elders. He could feel that the Floating Crest trial was a great fortune for the inner disciples of the clan. But even among the inner disciples, only a small number of them could participate in this trial. After that, Zhao Feng found out a lot about the Floating Crest trial from the two elders. First of all, the Floating Crest trial was a chance for the participants to enter the ancient, Floating Crest Palace and gain some benefits from it, which would be a great help to their cultivation. Secondly, the disciples who performed well in the Floating Crest trial would be highly valued by the upper echelons of the clan and become a core disciple. In the Broken Moon clan, almost all those at the True Spirit realm had performed well in the Floating Crest trial. For example, Hai Yun Master was the one with the best performance in the Floating Crest trial in the past 100 years. The meaning of the two elders was clear. If Zhao Feng didn't have the fortune to participate in the Floating Crest trial, then it meant that he didn't have enough fortune on the path of martial arts and his future would be limited. It was better for him to come back and learn alchemy and arrays. In the world of the clan, some elders placed great importance on fortune, which was why the two elders said this. Even Zhao Feng couldn't ignore the concept of fortune. If he didn't have the mysterious left eye, he wouldn't have reached this step. If I can successfully participate in the Floating Crest trial, would the two elders stop me from cultivating? Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Hearing this, the two elders laughed and shook their heads, thinking that it was impossible. There's still 2 to 3 months until the Floating Crest trial and we don't even know if you'll be able to enter the inner clan. Furthermore, the Broken Moon clan only has a limited number of spots for the Floating Crest trial and those who haven't reached the third sky of the Ascended Realm usually find it hard to get a spot. Old Man Guan explained. Old Man Zhang said seriously, if you really can participate in the Floating Crest trial, then we have nothing to say. Good. It's a deal. Zhao Feng and the two elders agreed. The content was, if Zhao Feng could successfully participate in the Floating Crest trial, then they wouldn't try to stop him from entering the path of martial arts. If Zhao Feng couldn't participate in the Floating Crest trial, then he would have to consider the two elders' suggestion. After making the agreement, the two elders laughed confidently and left Zhao Feng's place. Is the floating crest trial really so magical? The competition is so intense. Zhao Feng watched as the two elders left confidently. After solving the problem with the two elders, Zhao Feng no longer had anything to worry about in the outer clan and he could focus on cultivating. Before entering the inner clan, Zhao Feng tried his best to increase his strength. Lightning wind palm, silver wall technique, burning wind stance, illusion fish picture, these were all things that Zhao Feng focused on. 3 days later. Outer disciple, Xiao's son, had successfully reached the ascended realm and entered the inner clan. According to the rules of the clan, as long as one reached the ascended realm before the age of 30, they would automatically leave the outer clan and wouldn't be able to participate in the substitute inner clan. Xiao's son was helpless. With his talent and background, he could have entered the inner clan much earlier if it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to get first in the outer clan. Another few days passed. Outer disciple, Yunmengxiang, had successfully reached the ascended realm and entered the inner clan. Xiao's son and Yunmengxiang were both outer disciples with good talent and background. Before Yunmengxiang left, she even came to visit Zhao Feng and smiled, "Pill Master Zhao, I'll be waiting for you in the inner clan." Of course. Zhao Feng's reply made Yunmengxiang secretly surprised. Xiao's son and Yunmengxiang's starting point, talent, cultivation and background were all above Zhao Feng's. Yunmengxiang had thought that Zhao Feng hadn't reached the ascended realm yet because of his talent. How would she know that Zhao Feng wanted to reach the ascended realm with his body? If he didn't, he would have reached the ascended realm earlier than Xiao Sunday. In the few days that Yunmengxiang and Xiao's son broke through, Zhao Feng's lightning wind palm had finally reached the third level, which was the low level. In the next 2 days, Zhao Feng's burning wind stance was 70 to 80% stronger than the previous 3 stances and it was more than twice as strong as the partial wind stance. While Zhao Feng was accumulating his strength, there were many rumors in the outer clan. Among the new disciples, the few with the best talent have already entered the inner sect. How enviable! Although that Zhao Feng is the top of the outer clan, he's not as talented as those geniuses. Zhao Feng didn't care about what others said as he continued to cultivate. In his spare time, he would go to the thousand-leaf pond and occasionally refine the marrow cleansing pill, dawn moon breath returning pill and other spiritual pills. Most of them were sold through the grasswood division to earn a small sum of primal crystal stones. Apart from that, Zhao Feng also left a marrow cleansing pill for his 2 senior brothers, Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan. "Brother Zhao, why didn't you keep the marrow cleansing pill for yourself to reach the ascended realm?" Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were both grateful and ashamed. "I don't need it anymore." Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Originally, he kept a few marrow cleansing pills as a backup. However, that night, Zhao Feng returned to where he stayed and sat down cross-legged. He didn't purposely cultivate. Instead, his body started to circulate the silver wall technique. Wang's silver runes started to form within his body, giving off a terrifying pressure that far exceeded the inner strength of the martial path. The silver air true force has finally been formed. As Zhao Feng breathed, his body gave off a pressure that was comparable to a lord-tier deadly beast, which made the hearts of the nearby substitute inner disciples jump. At this moment, Zhao Feng's every action gave off an aura that was comparable to the holy martial path. Because his body was at the ascended realm, true force was formed from every part of his body. If it was a normal martial path cultivator, true force would be formed from the dantian countless times. The instant his body reached the ascended realm, Zhao Feng felt his left eye twitch rapidly. Peng peng. Peng peng, in the dimension of his left eye, the faint green light had extended to the limit of 9 feet and 9 inches before it suddenly stopped. Wang, the spiraling light in the dimension of his left eye started to twist and change. Chapter 136. This was the first time something like this had appeared in the dimension of Zhao Feng's left eye. The 9'9" green halo didn't continue to extend, but it started to condense. SSSS. Zhao Feng screamed as he held his left eye and fell to the ground with a plop. The pain from his left eye seeped into his bones and soul. At that moment, Zhao Feng's body was covered in cold sweat. The pain lasted for half an hour before it started to subside. Zhao Feng focused again and realized that there was a green ball of light in the dimension of his left eye. This green wasn't the faint green from before, it was pure green and it was extremely eye-catching. The green ball of light was twisting and turning, as if it was nurturing something. When Zhao Feng let go of his hand, there were traces of blood on his palm, which scared him. He took out a mirror and saw that there was a smear of green in his left eye. Please don't go too far. Zhao Feng prayed in his heart. He couldn't control the changes in his left eye and could only sit cross-legged and circulate the silver star true force in his body. True force was a power that far exceeded the level of inner strength. A thread of true force could kill a normal martial artist's inner strength, which showed how powerful it was. Zhao Feng slowly circulated the true force in his body and paid attention to the returning element inner strength in his dantian. The returning element inner strength had been condensed to the extreme and was in the state of half inner strength and half true force. Inner strength was just a wisp of faintly discernible aura. The true force, on the other hand, was chi that existed and could be seen with the naked eye. At that moment, the returning element inner strength in Zhao Feng's dantian was in the state of half true force and it was transforming more and more true force. Zhao Feng knew that after his body entered the ascended realm, his body's quality would increase and the inner strength that he had condensed to the extreme would also change faster. To increase the speed of the returning element inner strength's transformation, Zhao Feng merged a few threads of silver star true force into it. If it was a normal inner strength, it would most likely collapse or be destroyed under such circumstances. But the returning origin inner energy had a strong tolerance, adding on the fact that a large portion of it was converted into true power, it could slowly absorb the silver dipper true power. Imperceptibly, the Guiyuan inner force in Zhao Feng's dantian was being refined continuously, becoming purer and purer. After a whole night's time, the amount of returning origin inner energy in Zhao Feng's body had been reduced by half, but all of it had been converted into returning origin true force. Thus, Zhao Feng had two types of true power in his body. One was the silver dipper true power from the body refinement technique, and the other was the returning essence true power from the returning essence technique. Be it his body tempering technique or inner force, Zhao Feng had both reached the transcending mortality stage. This situation was extremely rare and it gave him twice the true strength of someone at the first sky of the ascended realm. Looks like I need a new inner force skill. Zhao Feng thought to himself. Because the returning vitality technique was only a half-mortal level martial art, it was already a fluke that he was able to break through to the transcending mortality stage. On the other hand, the silver wall technique was a mortal body refinement technique, and the 10th level wasn't the most important. Zhao Feng estimated that it would be hard for the silver wall technique to break through to the 11th level in a short amount of time. Moreover, the 9 transformation golden wall technique was still a long way off. The next morning, Zhao Feng took out the copper mirror and was shocked. His left eyeball had turned completely green, and his pupil was a deep green, as if he was a demon. Not only that. Even his head of black hair had turned green. This. I won't turn into a monster, right? Zhao Feng shuddered. His hair turning azure wasn't something he could accept. After all, there were many different hair colors in the human world, and some even dyed their hair after birth. However, those green eyes were a little frightening. Zhao Feng prayed in his heart, hoping that his eye would return to its original color. However, his left eye was still in the mutating stage, and no matter what he tried, he couldn't make it return to its original color. Seeing this, Zhao Feng took out a black cloth and covered his left eye. Finally, it's a bit better. Zhao Feng took out the mirror and looked at his one-eyed self, which made him look fierce, but his azure hair made him look more elegant. If he didn't take off the black cloth, Zhao Feng's image would still be acceptable. Pang pang. Pang pang, Zhao Feng felt that his left eye was still twitching. The azure light in the dimension of his left eye seemed to be nurturing something. Instinct told Zhao Feng that his left eye was going to mutate again, and he didn't know if he would turn into a demon and be killed by the clan. No. I can't just sit here and do nothing. I need to find a quiet place. Zhao Feng made up his mind and quickly left the courtyard. Along the way, he walked at a brisk pace, ignoring everyone. What a terrifying aura. Has Zhao Feng broken through to the ascended realm? His hair has turned azure and he's become a one-eyed man. Does he have to be so fierce? Even the nearby outer disciples could feel the aura from far away. In reality, when Zhao Feng broke through to the ascended realm last night, the powerful aura made some of the substitute inner disciples know the answer. His body has reached the ascended realm. He's done it. Ho Yuan had also rushed over and his heart shook as he looked at Zhao Feng's powerful body. At this moment, Zhao Feng could probably fight against those at the first sky of the ascended realm with just his body, but it was impossible to estimate his overall strength. Tang! Tang! Zhao Feng's figure flew into the air and disappeared into the valley of the Broken Moon clan. After a long time, Zhao Feng found a hidden cave. To prevent anyone from following him, he opened the black cloth and scanned the area with his left eye to make sure there was no one suspicious. Hu Zhao Feng let out a breath as he laid in the cave, enduring the pain from his left eye and waiting for changes. An hour later. Pang! 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 The beating from his left eye became faster and faster. In the dimension of his left eye, the green ball of light suddenly sunk in and started to spin with the deepest point in the center. The azure ball of light was deep on the inside and shallow on the outside, spinning from the outside to the inside. At first glance, it looked like a whirlpool. Ah! Blood seeped out of Zhao Feng's left eye as he screamed in pain and his body kept on rolling. Luckily, this was a cave in the mountain. If this was in the clan, it would have alerted a lot of people. Zhao Feng felt that his left eye was like a bottomless pit that was sucking his blood. If this process continued for 30 breaths, it would be enough to take his life. Luckily, this feeling only lasted for 10 breaths and it almost took half his life. Finally, the changes in the dimension of his left eye started to stabilize. In the middle of the pitch-black dimension, an azure abyss appeared. It was around 1 foot in diameter and it became deeper and deeper as it spun unstably. The closer one got to the center of the cyan abyss, the deeper it became. It was impossible to see the bottom. Zhao Feng's consciousness carefully touched the abyss and he felt an ancient aura. Immediately, a faint azure liquid seeped out of his left eye and merged into Zhao Feng's body, organs and limbs. A faint azure liquid seeped out from the corner of his eye, but it quickly merged into Zhao Feng's skin. This, could it be blood? Zhao Feng felt the blood in his body boil and the bloodline that came from his inheritance started to tremble. It was an indescribable feeling, but Zhao Feng was sure that his body had changed. This change was even greater than breaking through to the ascended realm. After a few breaths, his left eye stopped secreting the azure liquid. Zhao Feng's heart relaxed slightly as he felt the pain in his left eye lessen. In the dimension of his left eye, the azure abyss had stabilized to 1 foot in diameter and was slowly spinning. Is it over? Zhao Feng murmured. But instinct told him that it wasn't that simple. He instinctively wanted to open his left eye. However, he found that his left eyelid was extremely heavy and he could only lift it a little. It was a weird feeling, as if his eye didn't belong to him and he couldn't control it. How can this be? Zhao Feng panicked. He didn't want to become a one-eyed person and he didn't want to lose his mysterious left eye. Open. Open your eyes. Zhao Feng used all his strength and his eyelid only moved a little. Then, he used all his strength to circulate silver wall technique, using the potential in every inch of his body. 1. A faint azure glow appeared in his blood and Zhao Feng felt his entire body gain a boost. His mental energy, and mental strength all rose. Even his silver air true force and returning breath true force were strengthened. His entire body gave off an aura that exceeded the limits of a human's body. At that moment, Zhao Feng suspected that he wasn't a human. At least his bloodline and body were different. Open! Open! Zhao Feng yelled. Under the stimulation of the azure glow, he felt his left eye slowly open. The process of opening his eye lasted for a breath's time. When that deep azure eye revealed a sliver of a crack, Zhao Feng felt as if the heavens and earth were trembling. What's going on? Zhao Feng didn't know if it was him or the outside world that was trembling. But he still tried to open his eye. He was afraid that if he couldn't open his eye now, he wouldn't have another chance. Every time he opened his left eye, he felt the mountain and heaven and earth tremble even more. The trembling seemed to come from the space itself. But Zhao Feng saw that the disciples on the mountain didn't seem to feel anything. Could it be that he was imagining things? Zhao Feng didn't know that when his left eye opened, all those at the true spirit realm and above on the sky moon mountain were trembling. Inside a bluish-green pavilion. Wah! A handsome white-clothed male suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and woke up from his seclusion. What's going on? Hai Yun Master's face was pale white as his body trembled. This was an action that came from the depths of his soul and bloodline. At the same time, in the vast azure flower continent, anyone at the true spirit realm or above felt their soul and bloodline tremble. The higher one's cultivation was, the stronger this feeling was. This was especially so for those in seclusion who were interrupted and spat out blood on the spot. Up until a certain moment, the trembling disappeared. And this was the moment when Zhao Feng's left eye had completely opened. Boom! Zhao Feng felt his mind shake and his azure left eye shot out a beam of light that could cause demons and gods alike to retreat. The transparent ray of light was like a beam of divine light that pierced through the mountain, through the Broken Moon clan, into the sky, and even into the vast galaxy, competing with everything in the fan universe. Zhao Feng couldn't describe how strong the transparent beam of light was, but it seemed to be able to see through everything in the world. Chapter 137. The transparent beam of light seemed to be a wisp of divine light that appeared when Zhao Feng opened his eyes. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through the mountains, rivers, and the heavens. However, the members of the various sects on Heavenly Moon Mountain did not see the transparent divine light. They were completely unaware of it. Only those at the true spirit realm and above felt the air shake, but it seemed to be an illusion. Only a small number of people on the Azure Flower continent could sense the phenomenon that flashed across the sky. Northern continent. In the vast upper valley, inside a magnificent ancient palace. Boom! In the depths of the palace, an ancient stone tablet that was 100 yards tall started to shake. This stone tablet was passed down from the ancient times and even those at the true spirit realm would find it hard to damage it. But now, a crack had appeared on it. Not good. The Heaven Yuan ancient stone tablet is cracking for no reason. The stone tablet is cracking for no reason. Is there some sort of calamity? The area around the ancient palace broke into chaos. Chio! A rainbow light shot into the sky from the distant clouds and landed in front of the ancient Heavenly Yuan tablet. Sovereign Lord, what just happened? More than a dozen powerful auras pierced through the clouds and arrived in front of the stone tablet. In front of the Heaven Yuan ancient stone tablet, a figure in purple robes slowly reached out and a wisp of white light merged into the stone tablet. When the Heaven Yuan ancient stone tablet trembled slightly as weird words appeared on its surface. These words were complicated and kept on changing. The expression of the figure in purple robes seemed to be struggling, as if it was taking a lot of effort. A powerful aura spread across heaven and earth. The auras of dozens of experts at the true spirit realm trembled uneasily as they looked up at the sovereign Lord who was looking down on heaven and earth. As time passed, more and more sect experts arrived. However, the sovereign Lord in front of the stone tablet seemed to be the ruler of heaven and earth. What does the Heaven Yuan ancient stone tablet mean? Even the sovereign Lord at the origin core realm had to come out of seclusion. There are indeed sovereigns at the origin core realm on this continent. The experts at the true spirit realm below only exchanged glances and communicated with their divine sense. After a long time, the High Lord, who was looked up to by everyone, slowly let go. I can only distinguish two handwriting on the divine monument. The sovereign Lord said slowly. Which two words? The experts asked one after another. Suddenly, the High Lord raised his eyes and looked at the blue sky. He could vaguely see an eye of heaven looking down coldly. That seemed to be just an illusion of an omen. God Eye. The High Lord spat out two words with difficulty, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Vast space, endless dust, far away on the other side. On a majestic and solemn imperial land. Roar. The illusory dragon Chi of the roaring 9 dragons wandered around the immeasurably tall imperial palace, and the dragon roared ceaselessly. In the sky above the royal palace, auspicious dragon Chi formed layers of colorful clouds, constantly rolling. A boundless and imposing emperor, surrounded by dragon aura and auspicious light, pierced through the clouds of the 9 heavens. What kind of sign is this? The majestic emperor coldly gazed at the sky. His might was vast and mighty as he commanded the imperial land. However, in the blue sky, azure clouds surged, continuously breaking apart the auspicious dragon Chi. This is the first time such a phenomenon has occurred since the founding of the dynasty. It should be a heavenly anomaly. A wrinkled, white-haired old man, holding a black snake-headed walking stick, raised his head and stared at the blue sky. Where is it? The majestic voice of the emperor resounded through the world, intimidating all living beings. It might be near the territory of the dynasty. The old man said uncertainly. At this moment, countless experts and experts in the imperial land raised their heads to look at the phenomenon in the sky. Under the push of the roiling azure clouds, the auspicious dragon Chi of the dynasty was finally pushed away. The invisible presence clashed with Wang Chao's 9 dragons aura. Gradually, an eye of heaven appeared in the azure clouds, shining with a strange azure light. It was chaotic and indifferent as it coldly looked down on the world. What kind of anomaly is this? The experts and experts of the dynasty all cried out in alarm. A god eye. That's a god eye that has never been seen before. It doesn't seem to be any of the 8 great god eye inheritances, but it has such a heaven-shaking phenomenon. The experts of the vast imperial land discussed with each other, and the scene was in chaos. Only the mighty monarch and the white-haired old man with the snake-headed cane remained silent as they stared at the eye of heaven in the sky. After a long time the white-haired elder waved the black snake-headed walking stick in the air. 9 invisible snakes soared into the sky, but before they could even get close to the eye of heaven, they turned into dust and disappeared. The heavens have opened their eyes. The old man sobbed as he watched the eye of heaven slowly disappear. A savage and domineering black steel fortress ship floated in the gray sea of mist. The black steel fortress ship was extremely large, and there seemed to be a pitch-black curtain above its head. At this moment, all living beings prostrated themselves before a shadowy king. There was no light around this king, and it seemed to absorb all matter. The Shadow King stood at the bow of the ship, gazing at the endless sea of mist. Even further away, there were some dust particles. Bzzz, the distance of the gray sea of mist suddenly shook, and the heavenly void seemed to hum. Suddenly, a pair of faintly discernible eyes of heaven appeared in the distant sea of mist. Apart from the Shadow King, all other living beings trembled in unease. The Shadow King opened a pair of eyes that were like black whirlpools and coldly looked at the eye of heaven in the air. After a long time, the eye of heaven slowly merged into the sky, as if it was just passing by and looking at the scenery. There seems to be another inheritance of the 8 great God eyes in the world. 9 is the extreme number. What does this mean? Maybe the inheritance of the 8 great God eyes will be completely broken. The whirlpool of darkness in the Shadow King's eyes slowly faded. After that, the heavens and the earth fell into pitch-black darkness. The moment he opened his left eye, Zhao Feng didn't know what effect he had brought to the world. He could only confirm that some of the true power in the mysterious left eye was slowly awakening. When he opened his eye just now, there seemed to be a wisp of ancient power that shot out from his left eye. Zhao Feng couldn't help but feel slightly regretful. He could feel how strong that wisp of ancient power was, but it didn't seem to be something he could control, so it didn't belong to this plane. The ancient shatters, the ancient gods fall, turning into trillions of dust. Continue the supreme power of my eye bloodline, rule the ages. A voice echoed faintly in his mind. Zhao Feng couldn't help but reach out and rub his left eye. After the mutation, it had undoubtedly become stronger, as if it was a living being. He tried to close his eye and open it again. This time, it didn't create the mysterious ray of light from before. However, if Zhao Feng fully activated his left eye, he could feel the mysterious power of the azure blood in his body. He didn't know how to use this power, but he was sure that it could make him stronger and surpass the limits of a human body. After making sure everything had returned to normal, Zhao Feng carefully walked out of the cave. He once again took out the mirror. His hair was still azure. His eyes had become azure, and they had a glimmer of light. It was very pretty. Azure eyes and azure hair gave Zhao Feng's handsome figure 30% eeriness and 70% agility. No. Zhao Feng was still worried that the clan might think of him as an alien. Next, he tried his best to change the color of his eyes. Until many years later, when he stepped into a bigger world, Zhao Feng would still feel that his ignorance was funny. After a while, Zhao Feng barely found a method. He controlled the azure blood in his body and let this mysterious power merge into his left eye. A layer of azure blood entered the dimension of his left eye and blocked the azure abyss. Instantly, the azure abyss in the dimension seemed to be blocked, and the entire dimension fell into darkness. Zhao Feng looked at the mirror and saw that his left eye had returned to black, but it had become dim. However, in this way, his left eye was also blinded, and he completely lost his vision. By using the azure blood, Zhao Feng could temporarily block his left eye and allow it to return to normal. However, using the azure blood continuously consumed Zhao Feng's energy. He could only use it for 2 to 4 hours a day or else he would run out of energy. There has to be a way. Zhao Feng let out a breath. Next, he tried to use the abilities of his left eye. Without a doubt, after reaching the ascended realm, the mysterious left eye's abilities had increased by leaps and bounds. Firstly, Zhao Feng's eyesight, reaction speed, etc. All of them had increased. For example, as long as there was nothing in his field of vision, Zhao Feng could see things from 100 miles away. Furthermore, Zhao Feng found that his left eye seemed to have a powerful piercing ability. For example, his gaze could penetrate several feet to see the structure of the rock strata nearby. I can't believe that my eyes can see through rocks. Zhao Feng felt that he was an anomaly. However, he felt that this wasn't the true change in his left eye. At this moment, a bird flew over from the valley in front of him and landed on top of Zhao Feng's head. Zhao Feng's left eye contracted and it was as sharp as lightning as he coldly stared at the bird in the sky. In that instant, an invisible mental energy pressure was emitted from his eye which condensed into a line and locked onto the bird in the sky. Plop! The bird screeched as it lost its balance in the air and fell to the ground. It wasn't Zhao Feng's left eye that killed the bird. It was an indescribable mental energy attack that caused the bird to lose control of its body and fall to its death. Killing without a trace. If I use this move in battle, I can make the opponent lose focus for an instant, which is enough to decide life and death. Zhao Feng thought in his heart. Zhao Feng tried the new abilities of his left eye for a long time and he felt mentally tired. There were some abilities that he hadn't fully grasped yet, especially the mental energy assassination just now. The sun was about to set. Zhao Feng immediately used a piece of cloth to cover his left eye as his azure hair danced in the wind and he flew towards the outer hall division. Tang! 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 His figure flew in the air and he could fly tens of yards in one breath. Normal cliffs wouldn't be able to stop him. Zhao Feng tried to circulate his true force and he could even float in the air for a breath or two before slowly descending. After reaching the ascended realm, one could fly in the air for a short distance or float in the air for a few breaths, but it wasn't true flying. Those at the true spirit realm could fly tens of miles without a problem. Returning to the outer hall division, Zhao Feng immediately asked Deacon Qiu to enter the inner hall. According to the rules of the clan, those who had reached the ascended realm before the age of 30 could become an inner hall disciple. I will report this to the higher-ups. If there are no accidents, you can report to the central hall tomorrow. Deacon Qiu's expression was calm, but when he saw Zhao Feng's one-eyed azure hair outfit, he felt that it was slightly weird, but he didn't ask anything. Chapter 138. After leaving the outer hall division, Zhao Feng let out a sigh of relief. His azure hair and one-eye outfit didn't attract the attention of the experts of the clan. The world of sex was filled with all sorts of bizarre occurrences. Zhao Feng quickly arrived at the clan mission division. This time, he came to the clan mission division for another matter. In the clan mission division, he knew some array masters and some logistics members. Soon, he found a blacksmith apprentice. In the clan mission division, there were array masters and blacksmiths who were in charge of logistics. Of course, Zhao Feng wasn't here to forge weapons. With his current status, he couldn't hire blacksmiths to forge weapons. Brother Zhao, what can I do for you? This blacksmith apprentice didn't need an introduction to recognize Zhao Feng. A few days ago, Zhao Feng was learning from old man Zhang in the clan mission division. He was known as a genius in the clan mission division. Zhao Feng didn't know that he was famous in the outer hall division, grasswood division, and the clan mission division. In the outer hall, he was the #1 outer hall disciple. At the age of 14 or 15, he was the unshakable #1. As for the grasswood division and clan mission division, because of Zhao Feng's reputation, the news of the two vice division leaders fighting over him had also spread. Make an eye patch for me. Zhao Feng pointed at his left eye that was covered by a cloth. An eye patch? The blacksmith apprentice was dazed. He thought that Zhao Feng would ask him to forge a weapon, but he didn't expect it to be this request. However, creating an eye patch wasn't difficult at all for blacksmiths in the clan, even for blacksmiths. Zhao Feng slowly took off the cloth and activated the azure blood in his body to isolate the azure abyss in the dimension of his left eye. When Zhao Feng took off the cloth, the blacksmith apprentice's heart skipped a beat. It was a dim eyeball that was frightening to look at. He finally understood why Zhao Feng wanted to make an eye patch, and he felt some sympathy for him. Junior brother Zhao, don't worry. I will definitely do my best to create the most suitable eye mask for you. The blacksmith apprentice took the measurements, took some materials, and started to get busy. According to the agreement, Zhao Feng would come to pick up the blindfold tomorrow. Zhao Feng left 2 substandard crystal stones and returned to the outer hall. That night, Zhao Feng closed his eyes and studied the ability of his left eye, as well as the faint green blood in his body. The azure abyss in the dimension of his left eye had a diameter of 1 foot, and it continuously spun from the outside to the inside. The deeper he went, the deeper it became. As his consciousness came into contact with it, Zhao Feng sensed an ancient and distant aura. After some research, he discovered that his left eye had the following abilities. First, his eyesight was super strong, allowing him to zoom in and out of the objects in his field of vision. Now, he even had a certain level of penetrative power. Second, a strong reaction, analytical ability, and ability to capture. Thirdly, the copy ability, which was even higher than retentive memory. It allowed him to copy some scenes and skills into the dimension of his left eye. Fourth, psychic assassination. Of course, these were just the abilities that Zhao Feng had categorized. Other than that, his left eye also had some hidden abilities, such as allowing Zhao Feng to calm down in times of danger, improving his physique and bloodline unknowingly. After reaching the Ascended Realm, Zhao Feng's left eye had become even stronger, and it had two new abilities, penetrative power, and psychic assassination. Especially the psychic assassination, Zhao Feng hadn't figured it out yet. This ability could surpass the limits of the physical body, and could be used on a higher level of mental energy. Zhao Feng had seen similar abilities in the clan's records. For example, the mysterious hooded man in the sky cloud forest could control Lord-level deadly beasts and lead a horde of beasts that could easily destroy a city. This was the power of the psychic domain, and it was no longer within the realm of martial arts. Intuition told Zhao Feng that the psychic domain could be used even further, and this seemed to be the true direction of his left eye's power. After confirming that his left eye was stable, Zhao Feng started to circulate the true force in his body. Right now, there were two types of true force in his body. One was the silver air true force that came from the ascended realm of the silver wall technique. This true force was unique, it was born from the body and would slowly merge into his dantian. But the problem was that there was also the returning breath true force in his dantian. Zhao Feng's situation was extremely rare, and there might not even be one in the Broken Moon clan in 100 years. Firstly, there were very few people who could train their body strengthening technique to the ascended realm. Body strengthening techniques were slow, and it required talent, determination and resources. Furthermore, the Broken Moon clan wasn't a clan that focused on body strengthening. Secondly, they had to break through to the ascended realm in both body strengthening and inner force. Because of this, there were two types of true force in Zhao Feng's body, and the amount of true force he could store was twice as much as when he had just entered the ascended realm. The true force formed by the body strengthening technique would be channeled through the dantian. If it was a normal person, they might have to give up on one type of true force. But what Zhao Feng trained was returning breath inner strength, which had a strong tolerance and could win through quantity. Normally, the returning breath inner force wouldn't be able to reach the ascended realm, much less condense true force. However, Zhao Feng had once again broken the rules. His returning breath inner force had reached the max level. Any skill, once it reached the max level, would be able to break through the limits of the original skill. This way, not only will I not have to give up on one type of true force, I can also merge them together to strengthen them. A light flashed in Zhao Feng's eyes. His left eye started to calculate according to some cultivation technique theories. Moments later, Zhao Feng came to a conclusion: once the two types of true force merge together, I will be able to reach the peak of the first sky in a short amount of time. If I have an inner force skill, the second sky won't be far away. The seven heavens of the ascended realm, as the name suggested, had 7 levels, like the 7 heavenly chasms. Every level was a small change and the difference was huge, far exceeding the difference between the 9 ranks of the martial path. Therefore, breaking through to the 7th sky of the ascended realm was extremely difficult. Many cultivators of the ascended realm were stuck at the 1st or 2nd sky of the ascended realm. For example, Lord Guanjuan. Why did Lord Guanjuan place so much importance on talent? It was because he had experienced it himself. Every breakthrough in the 7th sky of the ascended realm was a small change in the body. If one's talent wasn't enough, even if they managed to break through to the ascended realm, they wouldn't be able to reach the true spirit realm. After entering the clan, Zhao Feng's eyes had widened and he understood Su Rant's thoughts. No wonder he placed so much importance on Bei Moi. Compared to him, Zhao Feng was only a half-spiritual body and he was lucky to be accepted by Lord Guanjuan as a disciple. Life. Opportunities. Zhao Feng started to believe in opportunities. If it wasn't for Lord Guanjuan, he might not have been able to enter the clan for the rest of his life. Next, he would face new opportunities and bigger challenges. If everything went according to plan, Zhao Feng would enter the inner disciples tomorrow. The inner disciples were where the true geniuses of the clan gathered. Bei Moi, Quan Chen, Sun Yuanhao, Lu Yu, Ran Xiaoyuan, many geniuses, including some that Zhao Feng didn't know about, were all there. A few days ago, Xiao Sun and Yun Mengxiang had also entered the inner disciples. It could be said that Zhao Feng entering the inner disciples was already a done deal. But he still had a bigger fortune to fight for, the Floating Crest Trial. Although Zhao Feng didn't know much about the Floating Crest Trial, he knew that it was a great fortune for the younger generation of the clan. More importantly, this was the agreement between him and his two teachers, Old Man Guan and Old Man Zhang. The Floating Crest Trial was also held once every 5 years. If Zhao Feng couldn't participate, it meant that he didn't have enough fortune on the path of cultivation. It would be better for him to focus on the path of pills and arrays. Late at night. Zhao Feng was still cultivating. The two surges of true force needed to merge together and this was a slow process. Zhao Feng estimated that if he trained normally, he would be able to merge the two surges of true force in a month's time and reach the peak of the first sky. Normal inner disciples would need 1 to 2 years to reach this stage. Of course, with the help of some powerful spiritual pills, Zhao Feng and the other inner disciples would be able to shorten the time. As the true force merged, Zhao Feng started to organize what he had learnt, Silver Wall Technique, 10th level, the body has reached the ascended realm. With just the power of his body, he can fight against normal cultivators at the first sky. Lightning Wind Palm, 3rd level, equivalent to the low level. The palm can cause lightning to rumble and its power is shocking. According to what Zhao Feng knew, only a small portion of inner disciples could train middle-class mortal skills to the low level. For wind stances, the first 3 stances have been learnt to the max, the 4th stance, Burning Wind stance, has been learnt to 70 to 80%. The 4th stance, Burning Wind stance, is much more powerful and destructive than the previous 3 stances. Even if Zhao Feng used this stance alone, it would be better than the combination of Star Finger and the Tornado stance. Illusion Fish Picture, learned to the 5th transformation. Although the Illusion Fish Picture didn't have any offensive power, it could greatly improve one's skills and attacks. For example, if Zhao Feng merged the Illusion Fish Picture into the same movement skill and attack, he would be able to confuse the real from the fake, tricking the opponent. The essence of the Illusion Fish Picture was the word illusion, and in this aspect, Zhao Feng had only just started to understand it. At the moment, Zhao Feng was only training these skills. As for the skills below the mortal class, Zhao Feng had all reached the max level and his potential was limited, so he probably wouldn't be able to use them after entering the inner disciples. This meant that Zhao Feng only trained in 2 skills, Silver Wall Technique and Lightning Wind Palm. Silver Wall Technique had reached the 10th level and the 11th level was the highest level. Once he broke through to the 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm, it wouldn't be of much use anymore. Normal low-class mortal skills only had this upper limit. On the other hand, Lightning Wind Palm could be used at the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm, which was stronger than normal middle-class mortal skills. The next morning, Zhao Feng woke up early and came to the clan mission division. Brother Zhao, I didn't disappoint you. Your eye patch is done. The blacksmith disciple handed over a metal eye patch the size of a baby's palm. This eye patch was made of high-quality metal and it gave off a faint silver light. It felt cold and smooth to the touch. This eye patch has a special design and can be worn directly on the eye. It can block attacks from those at the first sky of the Ascended Realm. Under the disciple's explanation, Zhao Feng put the eye patch on. A cold feeling passed over and Zhao Feng's left eye was completely covered. Not bad. Zhao Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. In the morning breeze, his blue hair fluttered slightly, reflecting the faint light of the silver blue eye mask, fusing into a whole, 30% evil, 70% elegant. The blacksmith disciple next to him paused and he felt that there was an indescribable change in aura around Zhao Feng. Chapter 139. The moment he put on the eye patch, Zhao Feng's left eye's power was blocked. However, he still had confidence and peace of mind. His body had been modified by the mysterious left eye and under normal circumstances, Zhao Feng's reaction speed was faster than others of the same rank. In the past, he would try his best not to use his left eye and would only use it when he was in danger. If I block my left eye, my true strength will be halved. Zhao Feng estimated. Losing half of his strength sounded a bit exaggerated, but only Zhao Feng knew that his left eye wasn't the same as before. Every time his consciousness came into contact with the abyss in his left eye, he could feel an ancient and terrifying aura. His left eye had become Zhao Feng's forbidden power. From another perspective, if Zhao Feng used his left eye in azure blood, his strength would at least double. This would be a trump card, a trump card. He wouldn't use it unless he was in danger. Once his left eye was activated, it would show its characteristics, which might attract the attention of the experts of the clan and expose Zhao Feng's secret. After leaving the clan mission division, Zhao Feng returned to the outer hall division to wait for news. If everything went according to plan, Zhao Feng would be able to report to the central hall division today and officially become an inner disciple. Many disciples in the outer hall division knew that Zhao Feng had reached the ascended realm. This Zhao Feng's talent is average, but his strength is terrifying. How did he manage to reach the ascended realm so quickly? Everyone was shocked. Although Zhao Feng was number one in the outer disciples and was unrivaled, he didn't completely win over everyone. From some disciples' point of view, Zhao Feng only had a low-grade spiritual body talent and he was ranked lower in the clan. Although Xiao Sun couldn't beat Zhao Feng, he had become an inner disciple before him, which was why he didn't put Zhao Feng in his eyes. I heard that Zhao Feng is being taken care of by the two vice heads and he even received pills from Old Guan of the Grasswood Division, I see. If it was me, I would have broken through to the transcending mortality stage at the very least. There were many discussions about Zhao Feng in the outer sect. This was because Zhao Feng's aptitude was average, but he was young, powerful, and advanced at an astonishing speed. Zhao Feng ignored all of these discussions, turning a deaf ear to them. All he had to do was wait. Finally, that afternoon, Deacon Qiu sent a message to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng. Congratulations on becoming an inner disciple. You can now report to the central hall and wait for the final verification. Deacon Qiu said with a smile. Deacon Qiu had noticed Zhao Feng since the start of the sect entrance examination. At that time, it was because of the favor of the two vice hall masters. After that, Deacon Qiu also secretly paid attention to Zhao Feng's performance in the outer hall, Grasswood Hall, and Clan Affairs Hall. With Zhao Feng's talent and age, it was truly inconceivable for him to have such achievements. Thank you, Deacon. Zhao Feng was overjoyed as he thanked Deacon Qiu continuously. Before leaving the outer hall, Zhao Feng bid farewell to Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan. There were also many outer disciples who sent Zhao Feng off. This malefic is finally going to leave. Ho Yuan, Jiang Yuyan and the other substitute disciples let out a long breath as they rejoiced in their hearts. Only after Zhao Feng became an inner disciple would they have the chance to fight for first place. What made them happy was that Zhao Feng had broken through to the ascended realm faster than they had expected. However, their eyes were slightly dim. Zhao Feng was so young and had only entered the outer sect for a month, but he had already become an inner disciple. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan felt proud and happy, but at the same time, they felt a little sour in their hearts. Thinking back to when they were in the Guanjuan Palace, there was an obvious gap between them and Zhao Feng, but now, he had become an inner disciple, leaving them far behind. Of course, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan's progress wasn't bad either, they had both reached the 9th rank. With the help of the marrow cleansing pill, the two had reached the peak 9th rank, and it was only a matter of time before they reached the ascended realm. This was especially so for Yang Qingshan, who had a middle-rank spiritual body. If everything went well, he would have the chance to become an inner disciple within a year. After leaving the outer hall, Zhao Feng quickly walked towards the central hall. The central hall was the core of the clan, and the closer he got to it, the denser the heaven and earth yuan qi became and the greater the pressure he felt. Once he entered the central hall, most of the figures here were at the ascended realm. At the same time, an ancient aura came closer and closer to Zhao Feng, causing his left eye to twitch slightly. Raising his head, he saw a dark green palace floating in the clouds. It was surrounded by a layer of green lightning that was as thick as a thumb, giving off an ancient and desolate aura. The mysterious palace floated in the air above the mountain peak, dancing with the clouds and lightning, giving off an aura of a legend. Being in the clan, Zhao Feng's heart would tremble every time he saw the floating crest palace. At this moment, as Zhao Feng went deeper, the floating crest palace came closer and closer. This was because the floating crest palace was right above the central hall. Taking back his gaze, Zhao Feng quickly came to the central hall and reported. "Come with me. Every inner disciple needs to be personally confirmed by a vice head." A vice deacon was already prepared and led the way. In the Broken Moon clan, every new inner disciple would be reported to the upper echelons. The confirmation of an inner disciple needed to be confirmed by at least a vice head. It didn't take long for Zhao Feng to enter a heavily guarded hall. As soon as he stepped into the hall, Zhao Feng felt an invisible mental energy pressure that enveloped everything within 100 yards radius. "This is Headley," the vice deacon said in a low tone. "Greetings, Headley," Zhao Feng respectfully bowed towards the bearded middle-aged man. This Headley was actually a vice head of the clan. The true head of the clan was an elder, and all of them were at the true spirit realm. How would they have the time to test a disciple? Headley's expression was cold as he scanned Zhao Feng from head to toe. Zhao Feng felt as if there were 7 mountains pressing down on him, and if he made the slightest mistake, he would be smashed into pieces. These 7 mountains seemed to indicate that Headley had reached the 7th sky of the ascended realm and was even at the half-step true spirit realm. Zhao Feng, 14 years old, low-tier spiritual body, reached the ascended realm from the 8th rank of the martial path 1 month ago and is also the top outer disciple. Headley looked at the book in his hand. Knowing Zhao Feng's age, talent and cultivation, Headley was slightly surprised. Reaching the ascended realm at the age of 14 wasn't rare in the clan world. But if the target only had a low-tier spiritual body and didn't have any special background, then it was different. "Take off your blindfold," Headley said coldly. Through his left eye, Zhao Feng secretly circulated the azure blood in his body into the dimension of his left eye, isolating himself from the azure abyss. Following this, he slowly took off the blindfold. Under the blindfold, it was a completely dark eye. Hall Masterly was startled, and a hint of pity flashed across his eyes. As a 14-year-old youth, it was indeed a pity that one of his eyes was blind in the path of martial arts cultivation. Headley sighed and waved his hand, telling Zhao Feng to put the blindfold back on. After this, Headley casually asked Zhao Feng a few questions and didn't make things difficult for him. These questions were all about Zhao Feng's background, cultivation and thoughts. Zhao Feng's answers were also flawless. His identity and background were very easy to investigate. "I also know some things about you from Old Man Zhang." Headley faintly nodded his head, confirming that Zhao Feng wasn't a spy sent by another clan. Firstly, Zhao Feng was very young and his background was clean. Secondly, he was recommended by Lord Guanjuan. Furthermore, Zhao Feng was liked by the two vice heads, so Head Li's suspicions were reduced by half. After the interrogation, Zhao Feng received a new identity token, which represented his identity as an inner disciple. From today onwards, you are an official inner disciple. The deacon of the Central Division arranged a place for Zhao Feng to stay. As an inner disciple, his treatment was even better. He had his own house and there were even maids and servants serving him every day. The salary of an inner disciple was 10 substandard primal crystal stones every month, and every 2 to 3 months, he would be given a real spiritual pill. Real spiritual pills were worth more than 10 times that of the marrow cleansing pill. That day, Zhao Feng wore a black striped green shirt with a crescent moon embroidered on the back. Zhao Feng realized that in the world of the clan, not a single blade of grass was simple. The inner disciples' clothes were made of a special material that could keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Even cultivators at the 9th rank of the consolidated realm wouldn't be able to damage them easily. No matter if it was Bei Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, or Quan Chen, they all wore this type of uniform. Since this was his first time here, Zhao Feng first had to understand the rules here. The vice deacon also told him about the important rules. The age of an inner disciple didn't exceed 30. Once they passed 30, they would no longer be a disciple and they would be given a job. Furthermore, there were rankings for inner disciples. There were more than 100 inner disciples in the Broken Moon clan, but only the top 10 could be called core disciples. Core disciples were all at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm, and most of them were disciples of the clan's elders or even the clan master. In addition, the number 1 direct disciple would be honored as the head disciple, suppressing all other geniuses. The head disciple of this generation had reached the 6th sky of the Ascended Realm, and he had a bit of fame in the 13 clans. Core disciple. Head disciple, an idea started to form in Zhao Feng's mind. Even Bei Moi and Quan Chen's cultivation couldn't be compared to a core disciple. On the other hand, Sister Yuan was at the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm and she could be a core disciple. Thinking about Sister Yuan, Zhao Feng couldn't help but shiver. He then thought about Ran Xiaoyuan and felt grateful towards her. It would be best if he could repay her in the future. Walking out of the courtyard, Zhao Feng understood the situation of his neighbors. He found that Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang and the top outer disciple, Lin Fan, were all living nearby. These people had all come from the outer disciples recently and they were close with each other. Zhao Feng. Xiao Sun's mouth opened slightly as he lost his composure. It was as if he had seen a ghost. He never would have thought that Zhao Feng would enter the inner disciples so quickly. When he was still in the outer disciples, he didn't like Zhao Feng and he hated the latter for taking first place. In the end, he was the first to enter the inner disciples and he was happy about it. But a few days later, Zhao Feng also entered the inner disciples. Brother Zhao. Yun Mengxiang and Lin Fan walked out one after the other, and when they saw Zhao Feng, their expressions were colorful as if they had seen a ghost. Chapter 140. What? That brat became an inner disciple. When Quan Chen received the news, he was also dumbfounded. His calm state of mind was instantly broken. This news had also just come from the Central Division. Not long ago, Zhao Feng had passed the final confirmation from the Central Division's deputy head and officially became an inner disciple. Everything happened too quickly. After Zhao Feng reached the Ascended Realm, he reported it the 2nd day and entered the inner disciples on the 3rd day. This was why Quan Chen couldn't accept the news and he couldn't cultivate in peace. One had to know that just a month ago, the opponent was still an ant at the 8th rank of the consolidated realm. If Zhao Feng's talent was high, it would be normal for him to become an elder's disciple. For example, Bei Moi was trying to break through to the 2nd sky of the Ascended Realm. But the problem was that Zhao Feng only had a low-tier spiritual body and he was so young. Even Quan Chen's cultivation was only at the peak 9th rank of the consolidated realm when he was 14 to 15 years old. No. I must tell master about this. Quan Chen couldn't sit still anymore and he immediately headed towards Hai Yun master's residence. Elder was injured while cultivating and he's currently in seclusion. The gatekeeper boy said. Injured? Quan Chen was slightly stunned. According to what he knew, there was more than one elder that was injured at the same time. A few elders of the sect were injured on the same day. It did sound unbelievable. But this was the truth. 2 days before Zhao Feng became an inner disciple, several elders who were in seclusion spat out blood at the same time. No one knew what was strange about this. Seeing that master was in seclusion, Quan Chen could only contact his fellow disciples. Hai Yun master had a total of 4 core disciples. Amongst them, Bei Moi was the 4th disciple and had the highest talent. Quan Chen was the 3rd disciple and he was at the 3rd sky of the ascended realm. Above Quan Chen were 2 other senior disciples. First senior disciple, Wu Li, was the oldest and he was at the peak 5th sky of the ascended realm. He was over 30 years old and he had already left the ranks of disciples. Second senior disciple, Yuan Ji, had a high-tier spiritual body and he was at the 4th sky of the ascended realm. He was a core disciple of the clan. On that day, Hai Yun master's disciples gathered together. Eldest senior brother, Wu Li, was carrying out a mission outside the sect and had not returned. Hence, only 3 fellow disciples had come. Second brother, Yuan Ji. Third brother, Quan Chen. 4th junior brother, Bei Moi. You're saying that, he became an inner disciple? Bei Moi was shocked. Back then, as a disciple of Lord Guanjuan, he knew the talents of his fellow disciples like the back of his hand. Other than him, Yang Qingshan was the most talented. He had expected Yang Qingshan to be the first to enter the inner sect. However, Yang Qingshan had no backing in the sect. Logically speaking, he would need at least a year to have the chance to become an inner disciple. It's absolutely true, this kid is too strange. When Quan Chen mentioned Zhao Feng, his heart was filled with hatred. When he was in the outer sanctum, he had tried to suppress Zhao Feng time and time again, but Zhao Feng had neutralized all of his attacks. Junior brother Bei, what's so special about your junior brother Zhao? Second senior brother Yuan Ji said with a smile. Being a core disciple, Yuan Ji didn't put a newcomer in his eyes and was only slightly interested. This guy, hearing the name Zhao Feng, Bei Moi's eyebrows furrowed. There was no other reason. Even Bei Moi had lost to Zhao Feng back in the Guanjuan Palace. For example, in terms of memory, Bei Moi had lost to Zhao Feng and in the Beast Horde, he had also lost to Zhao Feng. Of course, the prideful Bei Moi wouldn't mention these things. His talent is average, but his talent and memory are extraordinary. He seems to have some talent in body strengthening and his battle prowess is also very strong. Bei Moi was expressionless as he gave a more objective evaluation. He. Second senior brother Yuan Ji laughed lightly. When he was an outer disciple, we might not be able to interfere. But now that he's an inner disciple, it'll be much easier to deal with him. Right. Quan Chen's eyes lit up. The outer and inner disciples were 2 different circles and they usually didn't interact with each other. But now, Zhao Feng had entered the inner disciples and was in the same circle as them. There's no need to report such a small matter to master. Us brothers can do whatever we want with him. Yuan Ji's smile had a hint of coldness in it. Does second senior brother have a plan? Quan Chen couldn't help but be overjoyed. This second senior brother of his was a core disciple and he was smart. Anyone who offended him would lose a layer of skin. Central Division, Inner Disciples. Zhao Feng, Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang and Lin Fan gathered together in a room. Even now, the 3 of them still hadn't calmed down. Zhao Feng had given them too much of a shock. He was the top outer disciple at 14 and had entered the inner disciples in just a month. Even Lin Fan, who was the top outer disciple last time, couldn't believe it. After watching the competition, he had smiled and said, Zhao Feng, I believe that we'll meet again in a few years. A few years. At that time, Lin Fan thought that Zhao Feng would need at least 2 to 3 years to enter the inner disciples with his low spiritual body. Thinking about it now, Lin Fan felt a little guilty. After Xiao Sun and Yun Mengxiang accepted the reality, they felt powerless and defeated. Since we've all entered the inner disciples together, we can take care of each other in the future. Lin Fan laughed and the atmosphere in the room returned to normal. Zhao Feng had entered the inner disciples slightly later than them, so there were some things that he needed to ask the three of them for guidance. Therefore, Lin Fan and the others didn't hesitate to teach him. We've just entered the inner disciples and our cultivation is still low, so we need to be careful. We can't offend the inner disciples, especially the core disciples, Lin Fan sighed. Especially when he mentioned the core disciples, they were all respectful. Core disciples had to be at least at the 4th sky of the ascended realm and were ranked in the top 10 of the inner disciples. Each of them was strong and had a strong background. The inner disciples have been very peaceful recently. I heard that many disciples are preparing for the floating crest trial in 3 months. Yun Mengxiang let out a sigh of regret and unwillingness. The floating crest trial was a great fortune for the Broken Moon clan that came once every 5 years. Many inner disciples fought for this chance. But from their conversation, the three didn't have much hope for the floating crest trial. It's too hard to fight for the floating crest trial. Xiao Sun also shook his head. According to past experience, those who hadn't reached the 3rd sky of the ascended realm wouldn't be able to fight for the chance. Luckily, Zhao Feng had heard that those who had participated in the floating crest trial last time couldn't participate this time. According to the rules of the floating crest palace, those who entered the trial couldn't be over 25 years old and could only enter once. Therefore, some of the stronger disciples in the inner sect could no longer participate in the trial. But even so, the competition in the floating crest trial was still extremely cruel. Xiao Sun and the other two didn't have much hope when they entered the inner disciples. Maybe geniuses like Bei Moi and Sun Yuanhao would have the chance to participate in the floating crest trial, even if they were new disciples. At the end of their conversation, Lin Fan reminded Zhao Feng, after entering the inner disciples, you still have one more chance to enter the hollow building. The two were once the top outer disciples, so they obviously understood the advantages of this. Hollow building? Zhao Feng's eyes flashed as he saw the array of the hollow building in the dimension of his left eye. Inside the hollow building, the jade slips floated in the mist and were covered by a mysterious array. If he could solve the array and enter the hollow building, he might be able to choose a few more skills or even higher ranked ones. This idea was extremely tempting. One had to know that the skills in the hollow building were all the best amongst those of the same rank. There were even high-class and peak-class mortal skills. Of course, Zhao Feng didn't have the confidence to solve the array. The array of the hollow building was too complicated, and even if Zhao Feng was lucky enough to solve it, he didn't have the confidence to do so without alerting the elders of the hollow building. But the bigger and more complicated the array, the easier it was for it to have loopholes. Zhao Feng didn't need to solve the array, but if he could find the loopholes, he would have a high chance. That night, Zhao Feng started to try to solve the array in the dimension of his left eye. The array was extremely complicated, and even Zhao Feng's evolved left eye found it hard to solve it. Luckily, there was some progress. If old man Zhang of the clan mission division knew about this, he would definitely be shocked speechless. One had to know that the array of the hollow building was passed down for a long time, and even the best array masters in the clan only knew 20 to 30% of it. Zhao Feng was a newbie, but he was able to analyze and solve the array of the hollow building. The most unbelievable thing was that Zhao Feng had only been to the hollow building once, but he was able to draw out the array. Right now, I still need to merge the two true forces in my body. I'll need to wait until I reach the peak 1st sky of the ascended realm before I can enter the hollow building. Zhao Feng made up his mind. For the next few days, Zhao Feng had been merging his true force and trying to understand the array of the hollow building. He didn't know how Hai Yun Master, Quan Chen and company would look at him, so he decided to wait and see. But Zhao Feng couldn't stay in his room forever. On the 7th day. Dang, the sound of the bell reverberated in the inner gate of the central hall for a long time. Inner Disciple Gathering. The inner disciples either woke up or opened their eyes from their seclusion. Zhao Feng had also woken up from his seclusion. The Inner Disciple Gathering was a group activity and it was hosted by the Central Division once a month. Inner Disciple Gathering. This is an important gathering of the inner disciples. Xiao Sun and company had excited expressions on their faces. Yun Mengxiang and Lin Fan also walked out of the courtyard. Zhao Feng's group of 4 headed towards the Central Division Square. There were a few inner disciples who had all reached the Ascended Realm and most of them were at the second sky of the Ascended Realm or higher. Zhao Feng and company were a bit eye-catching and the gazes of the other outer disciples were filled with disdain when they scanned over them. Humph. Amongst the inner disciples, there was a youth with a hooked nose who had a sinister smile on his face as he scanned Zhao Feng's group. It looks like we won't be able to hide this time. Lin Fan said helplessly. Zhao Feng was surprised and he couldn't help but look towards the hooked-nosed youth. Yun Mengxiang explained in a low voice. The hooked-nosed youth was called Su Ren and he was at the second sky of the Ascended Realm. He had a younger brother who had been taught a lesson by Lin Fan due to his arrogance. Therefore, the moment Lin Fan had entered the inner disciples, Su Ren had come to take revenge for his brother. Last time, Lin Fan had used his wits to avoid the battle. But today was the inner court assembly, and all the inner court disciples had to participate, so they couldn't avoid it even if they wanted to. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.